Go ahead and call this meeting to order Monday, July 21st at 7:30.
You just did it.
Official, Sarah?
So we are official, yep.
Minutes, anybody got omissions, corrections? I shouldn't ask.
Do you want to table it until Anna gets here, in case she's got something?
I think we should, yeah.
Just in case. Here you go, Sarah.
Thank
All
you.
right, highway, right-of-way, pesticide, herbicide, what's the story on that?
Just let you know, Highway is formalizing this. They have a new guy, and he just wanted to know if anybody had input. I said the commission sees it all the time from the railroads and other utilities, so it's not something new. So he will be coming in with a 5-year plan and go through the whole procedure.
Okay.
He said,
Bylaw regulations review, you got anything for that?
in front of you is a letter from Rebecca Lacey on the, what you may or may not want to do about work in the 50-foot no disturb area, which you can read at your leisure, but you might want to just hold this off, well, actually, until 136 Mill Road. So, what she said more than anything else is that there's really not much you can do about it now, except that, let me make sure I'm reading this right. This is some of my favorite wording. The law does not concern itself with trifles. I like that one. If you want to call something a de minimis amount of work in the 50-foot no disturb zone. But she said in that case, such determination should be impacts that are truly almost indistinguishable from zero. So you might be able to use that on extremely small things, and it depends where you want to draw the line. Or if you want to allow some people to get into the 50-foot, for example, an existing home that wants to expand, you might need to consider some sort of regulatory change to the bylaw regulations.
So we can't basically use some common sense on a small thing, is what you're saying, right?
You boxed yourself out of that,
Yeah.
where the regulations are phrased, except for, something that's truly de minimis. So it is something to consider.
Well, I
Both
mean,
in some of the projects that are in front of you tonight, and just going, in the future, what your wishes may or may not want to be.
well, I mean, for example, this home that we were considering is already in the 50, so in a sense, it's almost like zero, because you're not really necessarily adding to the impact of the house.
You could be doubling the size of the impact in the 50-foot no disturb area. So you're going to have a lot of houses that are already in the 50-foot, or driveways, or lawns, or retail.
And it'll take some thought, so we
Okay.
don't have
Right.
unintended consequences.
Sounds like that's
Yeah,
a future
that's-
discussion.
Yeah.
Can I go back, seeing as you're here, have you got any corrections or omissions to the minutes?
Yeah. Most are minor. One place, I think you said Ms. McDonald, but I think it was only Mr. that was there, right?
No, they're both.
No, they were both here.
Oh, they were both there. So, okay, so it was Ms., not Mr.
Maybe.
Because she wasn't introduced before.
Okay.
It's all right. What else?
Anyway.
Can I give you those?
Yes.
Just wait.
And then I wasn't sure, is the measurement on the farm pond, is that called a stadia? Because I wasn't familiar with the term.
I called it a gauge, but he kept calling it a stadia, so I said, not he, the invisible Brian Boudreau. So I figured, fine, I'll use his term.
Call it a yardstick.
He put it in, I'll call it what he wants to call it.
Okay, so I've never heard that term. Okay, stadia.
I wasn't familiar with it either, so.
Okay. And just one last thing on Chestnut Lane. Said the extra length of walls to provide for a paved turnaround before Lot 13, as well as shoulder parking. But my impression was the turnaround was paved, but the shoulder parking was gravel.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
So is that,
the first paragraph of
As well as gravel,
Chestnut
yeah.
Lane, as well as gravel shoulder parking.
Yeah.
Or gravel
Yep.
line. I think that's it.
And that, he kind of
Thank you.
had second, he wanted to kind of take that out of the, what he was asking for, and do just the wall in the final analysis.
Okay,
He was throwing that out.
let's keep going.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And continued public hearing notice of intent 204-857, 136 Mill Road, U 36-14D, replacement septic system and house addition. Somebody want to speak to that?
I think we're all set.
You just put that right on the table.
Get some extras.
We'll get it.
Okay.
It's 3 sheets. One is a stormwater.
Yeah, just bring that, just
Oh, is it the
bring
same
that
one? Okay.
board up onto the table, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we're back now with the different shape addition, different end of the house to be out of the 50. And this pink shows the new addition. Before, previously had it on this side, and it was in the 50-foot buffer of the wetland. And you can see this yellow line here, and that's where the existing house cuts in, and most of, a good part of the addition came in. Now, the addition is 50 feet off Beaver Brook, and where I had flagged it was a high water mark on the banking, so it's safe to there. They also want to put a small porch in, and so this is the new proposed addition, and it does meet to be out of your buffer zone of the 50. This line is the 50, the red line you see here. Some other things that I've done since after you had the site walk, I did find another wetland. It was actually a little bit off the property, and I put flags in there, C1 through C6. And this line is the 100-foot setback from there, so everything's safe in this work to do with that. And then it was also talked about in having a stormwater plan done for the addition, so a PE that I work with did the plan for that. Wants to put in a concrete basin with stone around it at this location here, which is, it's in the 100-foot river setback, about halfway between that 50 and the 100, and they'll put
It's in the
gutters
first
on
100 of the river or the second 100 of the river?
It's within the first 100.
Now, I thought that we...
What is that lawn right now?
Yeah, I also noticed a stream.
Yeah, that's a lot further back.
Okay.
That's what I show on this page here, back in here. It's wet and it becomes...
Okay, that's what you were talking about.
It's a long distance away. From where we're talking, about 175 feet from right
Okay,
there.
all right.
So I think at this point, we've tried to meet the requirements from what was talked about in the last 2 meetings, as far as getting the addition out of that 50-foot, verifying any other wetlands, and minimizing the impact to the resource.
Now, you don't give yourself much room to work, though, on that corner. Is that going to be
In
possible?
fact, to get this addition to fit, there's a chimney on this side. You can see where all the, well, you maybe can't see it, but Well, this pink is one little square there. That's where the existing brick chimney is. So at this point, they're doing everything they can with an architect to get that addition to fit against the house.
Plans if you guys wanted to see that we've started with, but we may shrink a little bit because it's at 750 square feet. I don't think my mother needs that much. So this is basically our house right here. There's going to be what we had proposed a porch here to give us, there we go, there's a good picture. So there'll be a porch out our front door, and then this is a window right now. We would make this into a door, so you can actually see, this would be the outside to our house, and then my mother's would go this way, and she would have entry over here, and we would have entry to her house from there. So we kind of took the corner of the house here and made that our entry plus her entry at the same time. We worked around the chimney. We wanted to make everything so it was also wide to be wheelchair accessible, but we may shrink this part a little bit more. So this is what the proposed house would look like, with a ramp if necessary on that side of the house. So this would be her addition. So you can see the chimney right there.
Well, really appreciate you moving things around to be
Yeah.
outside of the 50. What I was wondering is, are you going to be able to, do you have to grade around the house at all? Is that showing all the work you have to do? Because
Well, they're gonna
if
walk
you're
out.
right on the 50, it's not going to allow you to have work trucks or anything go through there. So I was wondering if that's been considered.
We have a walkout basement already, so they would definitely probably have to be going this way. I can't imagine them trying to go around the bottom of the house because it's too much of a grade to go down.
Right.
But I think that's...
So there's no fill required on that side?
I don't think so. I don't-
No,
Okay.
they could do it, especially if they do a partial walkout, or, well, either a walkout or a half wall in the back with some windows that could be minimized. And I think they would want to do the work on this prior to maybe the septic, and that way they could go right in the front and do everything they can to minimize it. And then I show the wattles going right up to the corner of the old house, coming all the way around all the way.
Yeah, this picture doesn't
And this
show...
is all vegetated here?
No, not at all.
This isn't really a
Wait,
fair...
you mean
Well, when you say-
existing, or
are you
do
saying BV?
Is this area
Well,
where you're putting the wattles, is that presently vegetated?
Well, I showed the big trees. These were, and there's some other small, but these are, every one of the big trees is labeled, and they can get that. I'm sure these two will probably have to go. This is about 6.5 feet away. That's 8. And this is about 12.
But it's mostly,
But-
it's mostly lawn on that side, right?
Yes.
Shady
That's
line.
just what you see is
Yeah,
what you see
it's...
for the.
In fact, we had to replace all of the, what do I say, the sideboard on this side of the house because it was just, there's no sun that gets to it. Jeez, anybody want to look at
Guys
this?
have any other comments?
I'm good, thanks.
No, I'm happy things got moved around.
That's
That's
good.
good.
It worked, so we took each your suggestion that you had and gave it to our builder and Doug, and they made it work.
Yeah.
Mother's happy, and it works, it looks nice. So
Yeah.
I think we got a good solution.
Somebody want to close it?
Oh, I just have one question. On our back porch, for those that had visited, it's not a big porch, it's just a stepway. We do have to replace some of the steps on that. Is that a big deal? Do we need to ask permission to do that?
Oh, is that the porch that was on the side you were going to
Yeah,
build, but
right.
not now?
Correct,
So basically replacing in kind?
correct.
That's fine, just be cautious of the construction equipment that you're utilizing for that.
Some of the steps need to be replaced and stuff, so we're thinking if we're doing this, we might as well just...
It's best to do it all under one order.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody want to make a motion to close this?
So I will make a motion to close the public hearing and to issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 204-856, 136 Mill Road.
I'll second.
Thank you, everybody.
Who's second?
We'll hear a second.
Rachel?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm voting present because I didn't go on the sidewalk.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
working with us, and
No problem. I think this is the second time we've worked with Mr. Picard. We signed all our papers.
Yes, sign it again. Oh, do we keep this? Amy, you set? Which copy do you have?
Yeah, can I get,
So if you want to go
I'll
ahead
give you
and
the
check.
I have
two
a
sets or
stormwater
one?
piece.
Yeah, we got it from the email I sent, I guess?
yeah, I have,
Okay. Do you want a full size of it?
I would love a full size.
Okay. And do you want the final of these two, page 1 and 2?
That'd be fantastic, thank you.
Oops, I wasn't ready.
So, I can either send you the order conditions, or have you not ready for pickup? Do you, if I send it to you a certified mail, so it's not home, you have to go to the post office to pick it up? But
Why don't you let us know when it's ready?
Okay.
That'd be like the easiest way.
Wednesday at the earliest.
Whether it is, that'd be great. I would say one of my kids may open the door for the certified mail, but that's perhaps you, so.
Exactly. That's why you're the
you're going back,
Thank you.
going back tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Can you
Thank you.
continue?
Good night.
I'd like to make continued public hearing notice of intent 204-855, 6 Cottage Way, new septic system and well and possible expansion of 2 Cottage. Somebody want to speak to that?
So the time will note that we're 3 minutes ahead, but we can certainly start to have discussion prior. Nothing will be voted on for the next 3 minutes, so come on up.
Christine Kazokis. Okay.
So just go ahead and do a quick briefing from the last time you were here to present.
So last time we were here, we had discussion about the expansion of my driveway so that I can put in my septic and my well, and so that I can get a building permit to do the addition work on my cottage. Right now, I've shown an expansion of the driveway to be 12 feet, which was what was recommended to me, to make sure that construction vehicles and fire trucks and emergency vehicles could get down during construction and to be able to get a permit. Last time there was the recommendation to put my erosion control outside the 50-foot buffer if I could, and so I made those changes here. With the work that's going to be in the 50-foot buffer, I figured I had to put the erosion control inside that buffer, so that was something to be addressed. My neighbors were concerned that it was not an engineered plan, so what I did is that I took my actual septic plan and just put the colors, so this is the same as the plan that I put with my NOI. It's just my actual septic plan that's, a lot more visible to be able to see the engineering quality of it. So that's...
Okay, there's some questions in regards to the road and fire access.
Yes, and so Chief Kaczynski is here to speak
Can we
on.
just come up and kind of walk through your comments?
Sure.
We appreciate you being here.
Just looking at the, let's see, where are we?
This is the paved road walking down.
So right now, when you come down the paved lane, the access, there's kind of an outcropping here between rock and trees on this corner, and then like the existing road as it goes down, there's several points where the trees are either overhanging or the bends in the existing road are too sharp. So with the new configuration of the driveway, or what's planned, it'll eliminate a few clumps of trees will be eliminated, but we'll be able to obtain that 12-foot wide driveway all the way down. It kind of straightens it out. Would be able to get apparatus down there, without going, anything really over the 12, but we would need the 12 to safely actually get, have a decent access all the way down to the bottom.
That keeps all the mirrors on the truck?
Exactly.
So do you have any,
I've heard this before.
do you have any small trucks that you use in certain locations that would service places like this?
We do, but-
Or use a standard?
When a house is on fire, you're getting
You get the biggest
appropriate
apparatus
vehicle
you can.
that you need, yeah. Yep. No, it's the difference of a vehicle pumping 1,500 gallons a minute compared to 400 or 500 gallons a minute.
And it's
So-
heavily forested, so the opportunity for forest fire through there, in terms of being able to fight, would be an issue for limited access as well.
Yep. You know, it's an issue as far as water down there anyway. If we did lay a line, I think the nearest hydrant's pretty close to about a good half-mile away anyway.
You wouldn't
If not-
pump
if not
out
You
a
more.
pump out a lake?
You still gotta get the
If we
pumper
can
down
get
there.
it close enough, yes. I think when you go down on, is it
Shagbark?
Shagbar?
There's a point where we'd be able to draft down there and relay it up to another truck. But yeah, that would be the goal, is to draft.
Do we own, does the town own a wildfire truck now?
We did, yep,
Small pumper?
yep.
Can I ask, if this is a new house, what width driveway would be required?
20 feet.
But because I'm going to be building off the existing, I'll be able to just put in 12.
What is the width of the road currently?
It varies. I don't have a ruler with me, but this is well over 12 feet in this section. This is probably just under 10 in this section here.
There are
Yeah.
a few sections where the trees going around the bends, I would say it's probably 8 to 10.
Yeah.
It definitely gets snug, and there's a few really sharp bends.
And if you care about your vehicle in terms of paint or anything like that, the overhangs and everything, it definitely,
So-
I have friends that won't.
So this would also help, would this also help the neighbor's house? That there's
In terms
access?
of firefight.
In terms of getting the fire equipment down?
Wait.
No, the one at the very end of the road has plenty of clearance. That was remodeled some years ago, and it's a brand-new house.
And they had to meet
with a
road
full
standards,
driveway.
so they're
Okay.
wider road.
Gotcha.
So that's a good point that Amy brought up.
This would also give you access in case you did have a brush fire or something down in there.
Any of the improvements down there, you know,
Yeah.
benefit everybody. The ease in access for us to get down there, you know, along the water side, it's just across from even Camp Neshoba. You know, when there's different issues out on the lakes, we typically look for, you know, multiple areas to get in. So any of these improvements are a benefit to us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And no changes to the wells that you put in before?
I have the preferred location of the well, which is still outside the 100-foot buffer, so that's where I'm.
And then the
hoping-
backup plan is the other one?
Is the other one, but the preferred location is the one outside the buffer. And I moved the water line, and looking at the topography and having the water line probably go along there, that actually moves the water line outside the 100-foot buffer too. Because before my original plan, I had it connecting and it just crossed in the 100-foot buffer. But I think with the well, we can do everything outside the buffer.
So is the road the only issue close to the wetland of your improvements that you're proposing?
It's the only one that's in the 50-foot buffer. Everything else is outside the 50-foot
Everything else
buffer
is
or outside the
outside.
100.
And the extension of the modification to the road, what is your closest point to the wetland?
Well, I would say it is probably,
Wasn't it like 20 feet?
yeah.
It wasn't.
Let's see, so this is where I'd say the closest point is here. And that's where this is, it's up in here. And the wetlands, because of the topography, it's pretty much not going anywhere, you know, that's its edge.
And isn't that a seasonal stream?
It's an intermediate stream. And nothing that we do is going to alter any of the wetlands or alter the stream at all. So all our work won't be touching the wetlands. And the changes that I'm making to the driveway won't alter the wetlands either. Oh, thank you.
Good. Wanna make a motion to close?
Do we want to take any public comment, or?
Yeah, we should.
Has anybody got any more questions?
Wait, let's see if anyone's done with the chief and he can take off. You guys think you're on the planning board at the same time, don't you? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no issues, you know, I mean, if they can maintain that 12 and straighten out some of that path down to the house, losing a few of those outcroppings of the trees, that would be ideal.
Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Oh, we have public, we have,
Comment?
Got a comment?
I do.
Thank you,
I have a
Chief.
question, actually. Ken McDonald, 42 Shagbark Drive.
Yeah.
Question for the chief. Hi. Curious if you actually looked at the road itself leading to the cabin, which is Cottage Way?
Yes.
And what was your view on that from an access standpoint?
What, you mean the main driveway to you?
That
Or
Shagbark
the,
Drive. Did
He's looking
you,
at the,
The one closest to the water.
did you walk down that road?
I did. The access is okay, the most direct would be the paved driveway with the enhancement to the driveway at the end.
If there were no enhancements made or required to the driveway, would you be able to get access on Cottage Way?
We'd have to get smaller engines down there. We wouldn't be able to, it'd be a little bit more of a challenge to get some of the other apparatus in. Honestly, if there was a significant fire, we would probably use both routes. And it may have to be, it could be a water shuttle, if we weren't able to draft, it depends. And we would need both driveways. That would be utilized, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to close this? Somebody?
so that's one other question. So we're within the 50, and we have new construction of a driveway.
For the road, but it's
Modification.
also public safety
Well,
too, though.
just,
right?
it's still, I just want to make sure that we're
Yes, on the same
following the
page.
regs.
Yeah, no, well, I think that
It-
was part of the discussion, yeah.
So waivers required.
So it's a waiver,
yeah.
and the waiver would be based on safety,
Safety.
Right.
correct?
That's right.
That's what the waiver is going to be.
And for note taking as well, because if I can't improve this driveway, I won't be able to do the things that I need to do here.
For upgrade.
that's not necessarily
But-
taking, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, so, but we have to be, right,
But I
that's
think you
going
follow
beyond
from
the
a
waiver.
safety standpoint.
But you've got no
Follow
safety
that
hook.
from a
Yeah,
safety.
I clearly have a safety.
Yeah.
So we can close the hearing, but we can't make a decision till the waiver.
No, we have some further questions.
We still need the waiver done.
I'd usually,
Request, we need a waiver request to vote on.
there has not been anything specifically in writing other than what was laid out in the original notice of intent, which described the rationale for this. So what I usually do is I take what's in there and conform it and mention all the changes that have been
That's
made.
Usually in her draft notes with
Yeah.
that.
And then I keep track of them.
Yeah, I think because it was discussed as well.
We have some more questions.
Yeah, we got some questions.
Could you please say your name and where you live?
My name is Stephen Erickson from North Environmental Services. We have some concerns. Your regulations for the waiver require that there be an alternative analysis. And the alternative analysis would be to use the lower driveway, which is accessible. The other problem is that this plan doesn't have enough grading on it. We're going to be bringing the driveway over the septic system. They've got a 2-to-1 slope here. Well, you can't drive on a 2-to-1 slope. So we don't know what the grading would be on this side or on this side. I'm not sure about the wetland boundary. I haven't had the opportunity to check it.
Talk about the septic system in the buffer zone. How far, where's the septic system in relationship to the
Here.
buffer zone?
The septic system is about, the actual Coltech system is 80 feet away from the intermediate stream. It's all outside the 50-foot buffer.
And you have a current permit for the Board of Health?
Yes, I do.
Does the Board of Health acknowledge that you have a road going over that?
Yes.
And so, but you were saying the slope,
Yes, I'm
which
sorry, I
slope?
missed the answer.
The slope over
Yes.
here is a 2-to-1
It's
slope.
not on the plan.
The only way you're gonna get up there was a 4-wheel drive Jeep. That's the equivalent of flight of stairs.
Are you,
You just can't leave it like that, so it's gotta be graded further out this way.
he's speaking about this, which is outside the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah, it's not an insurmountable problem.
It's not in our jurisdiction if it's outside the buffer.
The slope is in your jurisdiction because that's gonna be earth-moving activity.
What is your driveway, where is your driveway on top of the septic system, or is it off to the side?
It's on top of
It's
the
on top
septic.
of it.
It's going over.
The other map that you, or the plan that you showed, had the rest of the driveway as it
Right, and
connects to the,
So it will come over here and then connect into here. I didn't because it was outside the 100-foot buffer and I was short on time. So I was just like, that's one less piece I need to really.
but will you be changing he was concerned, I guess, about the grading outside of the 100? You're going to fill that area in to connect to the driveway?
It'll be designed in the appropriate manner that it needs to be.
I think it should be shown on the plan.
Yeah, it's gotta be shown on the
It's gotta
plan.
be shown on the plan. Make
So that's
it
what we're-
complete.
Septic system, or are
No,
you
the-
talking about?
No, the driveway.
Even
And
though
if-
it's
if this
outside,
driveway-
it should be shown on the plan here.
This driveway is going to be abandoned. It should be loaned and seeded.
No, it's not going to be
It's
abandoned.
not on her property.
No.
That's.
That's
yeah.
another driveway.
Well, it's an access way for your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
To go to this.
And that's that's all on his
Yeah,
property.
so we can't address, we can't address that.
That's still gonna be used.
Well, ultimately, I think it's an approvable project, but I don't think the plans are accurate enough to know exactly what's going on. I don't think there's enough information to make a good decision. We don't know if the access over here would be less impactful. It should be in an alternative analysis.
What did fire chief think about that in terms of the access?
I looked at both of them. The best access is gonna be from the top, is having the adjustment to the existing driveway.
A straight shot.
Yep.
And that's all on my property.
The
That allows
grading,
us to use the main road to get as close as possible without doing the dirt travels amongst the other homes down by the water.
the grading in this area isn't really clear to me. I'm gonna say it's a 2-foot wall, but unfortunately, the plan that I had was
Yeah.
just a copy, and it didn't come out very well, so I couldn't really make out the grading in that area. May have to get a copy from your office to,
That's on file with Board of Health too, isn't it?
Yep.
No, where it actually shows the septic system is on file.
On file with the Board of Health does not show the road going over the septic.
Correct. It doesn't, actually, the one that's filed and approved by the Board of Health does not include the widening of the cart path into the driveway.
The Coltech system is designed for heavy-duty loading, and we've spoken with the Board of Health, and making a change of putting the driveway over, they had no problem with, because it's
You
designed,
have a problem with your trucks fully loaded going over that?
because it's
Not if it's
the,
approved for to be driven over, no.
yeah, it's a heavy-duty.
No issue.
Coltech.
We've had several systems that we've had the ability to drive over.
yeah, it is designed with heavy duty, so it can take that. And the pipes are Schedule 40 also, so that's not a problem. But the grading is kind of problematic. And the grading over here just isn't clear to me. It's
Well,
not
I don't-
detailed enough.
There isn't any grading there.
Yeah,
So that you got some sort of a wall.
Is it a wall?
it's the retaining wall that's, it's shown here. And that's the one part that it's, at the highest, will just need to be about 2 feet, is right at that corner where where we're eliminating the sharpest turn. And so it's just right there, but it's just minimal along in here.
Well, if it's a 2-foot contour and it's a 2-foot wall, contour should be on the plan to know what's actually gonna be built.
You have your spec there? I've got my schematic, that was that I submitted with the NOI. I've got a copy of that.
Right.
Great. I got 2 weeks ago, we saw the whole driveway.
Yeah.
You got it, Chris?
So it is submitted as part of the filing?
Yeah.
It's all in there. It's all in there.
you
that's
will.
part of the NOI that's been filed.
But it's not shown, this schematic here is not shown on this plan, is that what you're saying?
This is, yes, it is. The naturalized retaining wall for the driveway is right here.
That's
It's not
filed
it's
with
not from
Board of Health.
the engineer, did not draw that in. I
Yeah.
drew that in.
I don't
So-
have a problem with the 2-foot wall. I just have a problem with grading that I don't understand.
Well, have you seen that?
Yeah.
So is there a concern here with the Conservation Commission that the plan that the Board of Health approved did not include a widening of the car path into a driveway and all the changes that are taking place within the 50-foot buffer?
Well, if the system is designed for a certain weight, I don't know if they, I honestly don't know if they have a concern. If it's built to hold
Out of
that
curiosity,
weight,
is
I
my
would-
truck heavier than your, be heavier than your truck?
Possibly.
If you look at my sequence of events too, my thought was is if I can do my concrete work before, but this is designed to handle.
It's H20 loading.
It's H20 loading, so
Parking
it's.
lots that concrete trucks and semis go over. It's the same
You just-
design.
Yeah, but you just said you were gonna do the concrete, whatever you were gonna do down
First,
there
and then
before
build the
you
system out.
Yeah,
do
if
the well truck too?
the wells is hopefully the first thing after the tree work.
Well, you have to have that approved anyway,
Yeah,
where you can get your building permit.
So she
exactly.
can submit a sequence,
Yeah.
I did.
construction sequence.
So is that part of your notice of intent?
Yes, it is.
So I'm sorry, you said you had spoke to, was it just Jim Greffey or the Board of Health about the driveway going across there?
Yep, and he said it was fine,
Okay.
as long as it was the right loading, which it's already designed to do that, and that was one of the things I verified with the engineers too.
So you can hold that subject to a letter from Jim, if you need a letter from Jim.
I'm looking for my sequence of events.
Any more? Sorry. I
don't
know.
You
You
can
can
go.
go.
I gotta
Thanks.
go down to the selectmen's meeting.
Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for coming.
Have a good night.
Oh, here it is, proposed sequence of work. So, that's a part of the NOI.
What else did the commissioners have?
Steve had also raised concern about the topology shown in the plan, and that the fact that the wetlands ended at 108 feet in elevation, but then the topology showed 107 feet in elevation, leading right up to where the septic system is.
Yeah, the topography is a
So
little
the
odd.
commissioners went out on site to do a wetlands verification, correct? So did you notice any discrepancies when you were out on site?
Amy?
No, we walked that piece of the line, especially back near the septic system in there, and it looked fine to me.
Okay.
The old flags were still out there. And yeah, I agree, on the topo, it's one of the areas you want to look at, because it is a funny-looking
Yeah, I
extra
mean,
piece, but
the wetland's 108 over here, and 106 is right down here. And that is possible, but I have no way of knowing.
Have you done a site walk yourself?
No, I just looked at it from the adjacent property.
But you were on site, right?
yes, yeah. 3 or 4 weeks ago at this point, I think.
Quite a while ago, yeah.
Is there any other information the commissioners want?
No. Other than seeing, just having that roadway drawn all over the.
Just draw it right in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, and do you wish to have a letter from Jim Greffey, or? Just
I think it might be helpful just to
For the
have in the
record.
file, since it has come up as a question.
So make that one of the conditions?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the,
That would mean that you wouldn't be able to break ground until you have that on file.
Okay.
and what about the concern that Steve raised regarding the steepness of the driveway that's going over the septic system?
Well, we don't, that's outside of the 100, so we don't have any jurisdiction on
Somebody want to make a motion?
Any other questions?
I do.
We've got to stop.
I do. Just one, fine. So, Steve brought up some concerns. I know you folks walked the site. I would feel far more comfortable if we actually had a validation of the wetlands. As I stated during the last meeting, I'd be willing to pay for that.
So, didn't you guys go out as
Yes,
Ames
they did.
wetlands specialists as well? So you actually looked at the line, correct?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not going to question her credentials, certainly.
Right. So,
Uh,
just one other
I
additional
agree.
point to make is that the markers for the wetland that were put up 3 years ago were long since gone and replaced. So, I'm not sure.
Commissioners were out and saw some of the flags that were there. That was on comment already.
So,
And Kristen mentioned, she hasn't hung new flags out there, so.
I mean, you can look from the newness of the ribbons, they're not 3 years old, but.
Well, there's a lot of flags out there.
Yeah.
Not just wetland flags.
The blue flags.
Yeah.
They popped up about a month ago. So, point I guess I want to make here, and this will be my closing comment, is should the LCC decide to approve, I will appeal to the DEP. I know that's my ability to do so. I would like to not drag this out, so I'm going to offer up an opportunity here for Kristen to consider. Should.
That's, I think you're outside of our
Oh, fair
discussion,
enough. Okay.
and this is, we are not
Yep.
here for that. We're simply here to wetlands bylaws. So if that's tact,
And I'll warn you, you're going to be back here, because DEP's going to bounce it back to us.
so.
I'm fully aware of the length of time that process will
But
take.
that is a real strong possibility.
Mhm.
So we're going to, it's going to be us again. It's not going to be DEP.
Well, it could be DEP going out verifying the line.
Yeah,
But other than
that's
that,
fine.
they're going to,
But I think that's his point.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's his whole point. So if
So I
DEP comes back out and
propose
verifies the
We do
line,
that sooner, I'd
But
pay
we've
for
already
it.
done a line.
We would have-
We would- that-
We would
that's-
have a
I
wetland
would,
scientist do it,
I would just follow the
and it would be done within
standard.
30 days. Because, as you folks know, a DEP approval could go on for months.
what's your pleasure, folks? You want to close this out or what?
Yeah, I
would
think we
follow the
should-
course of action.
Yeah.
So we,
Yeah.
sounds like, well, go ahead and vote. It sounds like the commission supports the project. So
I'd like to
you're
make a
not
motion.
entertaining any other-
Yeah.
I certainly don't question our commission's ability to judge a wetlands line, nor our agent. Just
Yeah,
a motion.
make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 6 Cottage Way for a new septic system and a well and possible expansion to cottage. Doesn't mention the driveway, but anyway, and modification of the driveway.
Just following what is in the notice of intent. So you're
Right.
acknowledging the notice of intent.
Okay. And
And actually, that reminded me, so right now you are approving the full build,
Yeah.
as it
Right.
were.
Yeah.
And one of the standard conditions, if there's any change to that, more or less, you'd have to
Come back.
come back, yeah.
Right.
With the correction of following the driveway, showing that on the
Yes,
plan.
with Jim Ruffing.
with
yeah.
showing, and also a letter from the Board of Health saying that they approve the driveway going over the septic system.
Board of Health or their agent.
Or their agent.
Can I hear a second from somebody?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next one.
There you go.
But before you get your order of conditions, you've got to correct the plan with the driveway showing on it, and then
In the letter, so if I can bring the plan into Amy tomorrow.
I won't
and
be in
then-
tomorrow.
Oh, okay, so Wednesday,
You can always vote on.
okay. And Jim's in tomorrow, so I'll
Yeah.
talk to him
Yeah.
about that.
She's good.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Continued public hearing notice of intent, 323 King Street, demolition and reconstruction of a house.
Good evening.
Joe Bryan, Lydia Bryan, Matt Field.
Go ahead, Bob.
So we were here a couple weeks ago, and we were in the 50-foot buffer zone for about 2 or 3 feet. So at this point,
Are those all the same, or are they all different?
they're all the same, yeah.
Okay,
I colored 2 in,
thanks.
and I got 1 here for Matt. So we moved the house around a little bit, moved it out of the 50-foot buffer zone. We eliminated the porch that was on the left-hand side that was really in the buffer zone.
So the overall footprint is,
outside.
okay.
Yep.
Things that do have to change are the waistline heading up to the back, which is in the buffer.
But
also-
that's necessary, that's
Right.
Board of Health. So.
Right. The other aspect is crushing the house that will be over here with the machine.
Taking it away.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
Okay.
And then we have to dig.
Sorry, I can't
Or-
see the
oh,
line.
I'm sorry.
with
Oh, here, you want this
respect-
one?
Here, you
I just
go.
need to see the lines and what's happening at the same time.
You want this one?
The colored one.
I have my septic over here, so we can't go too far over
Right.
here either, so.
No, we can, the existing barn is there still, so we can come on the back side, this side, and we have to get right here to crush it. We also are putting in a new foundation, so we'll have to excavate out probably right to the 50-foot.
Is erosion control on that?
Yes.
What do you have between?
We're doing hay bales and silt fence.
What's your work area between the erosion control and your actual work? Like, how far is that?
That
from-
distance right there, the
Yeah.
scale is 1 inch equals 20.
Okay, so your erosion control is on the 50, or your work is on the 50?
We will be on the 50.
Okay, so where's
The
your?
erosion control is right here on the line, unless you want us to pull it up further, or what would
On
you
the
like us to
wetland
do?
On the
line?
wetland line?
That's gonna be moved up.
No, that's on the property line.
Right on the, yeah, that's,
Oh, okay.
when the septic went in, that's actually where the
Property line.
erosion control was, right there.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be the same area.
So,
We do have room, Carl, if you want to pull it up towards the house
I think
more.
it's always healthy to bring it in off the property line.
All we need is 10 feet
Yeah.
from the edge of the
So-
foundation. I mean, we can pull it right up to anywhere you
You're gonna be
want.
on top of the septic tank or septic
No, we're not.
line?
We can reach, the septic tanks are here, so we can reach on this side, and this side, and right in here.
Yeah.
So these are new septic tanks and pump chamber, or is that
8 years
existing?
old.
Oh, it's 8 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just the connection to the existing.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, what would it cost you to move the barn over? Seriously, you've done it,
I've done it a lot.
just to move the barn over.
To
another
raise-
20
I'd
feet.
love to move the barn over. It's been in the way since day one. Oh,
So
Matt, how much?
up is 10 grand, down is 10 grand. We have to excavate. If we were gonna do it, this would be the time to
Well,
do
that's
it.
smart thinking.
But, you
I
know,
like the idea. I wish I had the money.
Yeah,
That is
I
a lot
like
of
the
money.
idea, though.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it.
And that would give you more, would also give you the chance to build a little bigger house. if
I
you
know,
want.
I know.
Okay,
Something to consider, that's for sure, but right now, I gotta go with this.
right.
But love to take it down.
we would actually like to be over 5 feet further, so we don't have to fireproof the barn.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're gonna get there for that.
That's another reason why I'd like to move it over,
So you're
too.
right at the 50.
Yeah. So with the existing barn, with attaching it to the house,
Yeah.
and building a new structure, we still fall under the fire, you have to fireproof it. Anything that's
It's attached.
attached,
Yeah.
or less than 10 feet
Right, yeah.
from the house.
How the hell do you fireproof a barn?
It's gonna be, it's gonna be,
Good question.
no, it's,
That was my question,
It's
too.
this wall and like that side of the roof and that, right? It's not the
correct.
whole
So what you
structure.
have to do is
It's- I mean-
strip all the horse apparatuses that they have here. We have to fire coat it with 5/8 sheet rock,
It's just-
plaster
you
it.
treat this wall like it's like a garage.
Correct.
Like going in from your house to the garage. So it just has to be that wall.
Yeah.
It's so that,
Correct.
yeah, so you don't burn everything, yeah. Okay. Okay, so if you could move the erosion control in.
I'll move it wherever you
that
tell me
gives
if you wanna
some
draw it on here.
buffer, and especially for people that are working on that, so.
I mean, we can literally put it, we need 10 feet, so we can go right in this
Give
area
yourself
here.
12 feet.
Well, he's got, it's not to scale anyway,
It's
so
not
it's
to-
just,
this is-
he's gonna say what it is
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in the notes and in whatever, so. Okay.
We'll pull it up as far as you want. We're gonna
Yeah,
use
just kinda wrap
hay
it
bale,
so
yep.
it doesn't- yeah, just
We're
wrap
gonna
it.
use hay bale and silt fence.
Yeah, and what's your time frame to do this?
Tomorrow?
Yesterday?
They still have plans to get approved from the building department.
Right, do you have your deconstruction demolition permit and all that?
Not yet.
Okay, so it's on.
But you've got to
We're waiting
have
for
some
this
sort
to have
of,
approved.
guide for trash and stuff going.
The dumpsters are gonna be over here.
Right. Dumpsters have to be covered,
Yep.
so if you're close to the wetlands, just make sure that it's got a cover on it.
How close, sir?
Well, where's the dumpster? Is the
The
dumpster?
dumpsters are gonna go right here in the driveway.
So is it
Outside of the
out
100.
of the 100?
Yeah, outside of the 100.
Okay, so if it,
No, is it?
Yes, it is. Yep, there's 100 right here.
okay,
So it's going to be out of the 100.
so just be careful of the blow
Yep.
of that, so. Where you don't have your demolition permit, are you sure you want to close it tonight? Do you anticipate anyone else asking for something
We've had
different
no-
that might?
We've had no issues with the historic or anything with Roland.
Yeah, but I'm just, Sarah's got a good point. If you haven't got followed through with the permitting, you might be better off to leave it open till our next meeting.
Why would that be?
Just,
Well, because if there's a change, then you would have to go through this process again. But
Okay.
unless you foresee any change, it's just, you take,
A risk.
it's a risk, but it sounds like it might be minimal. So, but it's our duty to advise you that if you don't have your other ducks in a row, you might want to wait for us, knowing that you do have the support.
So what's your...
Has building department seen this at all? I mean, I know they kind of know it's coming, but have they actually seen any?
No, they have not. No.
I would,
So
I
you're
would
thinking they
suggest,
may...
Well, because they may say you have to have something else, and it happens to fall within the buffer zone in our
Okay.
jurisdiction. Like if they say, okay, that dumpster has to be over there or somewhere. So,
our next meeting's on the 7th.
August 7th.
Can I rip down my house in the meantime?
No.
No, you can't rip down your house without a demo permit from the building department. And that's gonna take,
Have you
that's
already,
gonna take 2 weeks.
have you already applied for that?
No.
Do you know what year the house was built, by chance? It's
18
totally...
1840.
Okay, so the way the Historical Commission addresses this kind of thing is if it is within the previous town historical survey of resources, the building commissioner would notify the Historical Commission, and then we'd have to schedule a Historical Commission meeting to decide whether or not it's historically significant, and then from there, you have 60 days to file a demolition permit, and there's a public hearing. So there could potentially be other things.
Are you on the historical
It's not
list?
part of the historical list.
Okay, if it's not, you're
Yeah.
you're all set.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Well, totally up to you. We did our part, we told
What do you
you.
think, Matt?
I mean,
You're not gonna
you've
get a
done-
permit right away from Roland Bernier, and I think they have a very valid,
It's two,
Yeah,
valid
she's got-
point.
it's an unforeseen
It's a couple
comment.
weeks.
Let me take
I mean,
a-
it's up to you guys what you
let
wanna
me
do.
take
I
a
mean-
straw vote of the
No, I
board.
think we all support it. So
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it's just, it's totally up to you all.
Okay.
So,
And if there's no changes, would they need to come back?
no,
Oh, okay.
no. Yeah, so we would just put it as a,
An agenda.
Open.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you want another
Just-
drawing depicting?
Yeah, just,
But, yeah.
just move that on, but just recognize if something does occur, you need to revise that and bring it in.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and put you on August 7th. I think it's, yeah.
Thank you.
So is that clear? Okay.
Are you fine with that?
Yeah.
You're not gonna get your permit from Roland right away anyway.
Continue it, and that's August 7th.
Yep.
Okay.
Amy, you want a copy of that?
I would love a copy of that. Well, you're about to change it anyway, so,
Okay.
I'm sorry?
about to change it anyway.
We gotta
Change
you
the-
gotta have your engineer draw the,
The erosion stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
Do you know if there are any demo concerns, like asbestos or something?
No, there
But that's
isn't.
the building
Asbestos
department.
is on the
Still.
side,
Before?
so we already had the asbestos taken off. That's why I went from
Yeah.
blue to white. So the asbestos is all done, so there shouldn't be any concern.
Oh, good. That will make it easier to,
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Look at you guys all on schedule.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll go to 11:30.
Is it gonna stay on schedule?
Okay, so Durkey 8:20. Amy, you want to bring us up to date? I went on site today. Any?
Julie was on site today.
I did too.
They started the pumping of the farm pond last week. You guys are up. Long time, hasn't it? Yeah, it is. I know, exactly. And Basin 3 continues to be pumped. I just want to check in with that about whether or not the commission thought that Basin 3 should be pumped when it's raining, because it was being pumped today.
We don't pump them.
So I can talk to that if I will a little bit.
I think let's go ahead and get a big plan out, so that way some of the newer commissioners can know what we're talking about in terms of basins. Every meeting, I think it's good to have it out.
So we're referencing infiltration basin 3, which is at the intersection of Folsom and Fraser Street.
You were pumping into that today, weren't you?
Out of it. Which is this, that one. So that's number 3.
So just to bring the new folks up to speed, this one silted up during construction, so we've been working on a plan to desilt it, to rebuild it. We're still waiting here from, the board gives permission to rebuild it contingent upon DPW's approval of that cleanout pipe. We haven't heard back from them yet, but.
But it's been filed.
We're working, yeah.
It's been filed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they have.
So what we did was we inspected this morning because it hadn't rained in a little while and this was very dry. We understand no pumping during the rain, but we felt that it was best to create a little freeboard here to prevent any rain that came down, pushing the silt through there and potentially leaking out here. And we brought it down a little lower. We checked it, we weren't having any trouble over there. This area's been very good to us and was very dry, so it was kind of a game time decision. I understand the policy if it's been raining not to dewater that, but we didn't want this to fill up and overflow. We haven't had the chance to rebuild it due to A, the weather, and B, we don't have the green light from DPW yet. We don't historically pump during the rain.
So can you review the status of 3? Did you remove
No.
the silts? Okay.
We need the approval from DPW on the cleanout pipe before we can start. That's a condition of your approval.
That was the only thing that was left hanging on that.
So we're actively trying to come to a resolution to see if there are issues, obviously. If they have any concerns, we'll address them and revise.
So
the
you
plan
were
to do
pumping out of there today?
Correct.
Okay.
Not
So
into
is
there, yeah.
that why it looks like that?
Cloudy?
So
That's
is
basin
that-
2.
The turbidity?
That's Basin 2,
That
isn't
was
it?
at,
No, this is 3.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
so that was at 4:45 today.
Yeah. So we had stopped, it's drawn down. It was created our freeboard from our
Okay.
6-inch hole, really. That's how.
Just the
we're not trying to
question
dry
of
it
what's
out.
coming out of that, if it looks like that, where's it going? Is more my concern.
Well, we pull it through, we have a standpipe in there full of stone. We filter it through that and then pump it. It doesn't come out whistle clean, but it comes out a lot better. And it settles out in that grassy area across the street where we've check dams over there, hay bales, check dams, silt fence, multiple layers of check dams. We left that area long. We did cut that field recently, but we left that area long.
These are Julie's pictures.
We've had good luck with it.
I think you may want to check a hose connection, because I think one of the hoses was spraying
yeah.
out, and
Where
it
was
was
that?
actually discharging on the north side of Grimes.
Okay.
Towards your project area, and then it was
Oh, so is that
basically
what-
flowing down. No, this is spruce. So that's spruce. This is spruce here and heading this way. So that's spruce, and then Fraser's over here, and the creek is like right here. And so that's the creek. That's it going into, that's from spruce to the creek. That is what the hose is creating. So the break in the hose is creating this ponding at the end of Fraser, which is also flowing across.
That's really not good.
And so that's there.
Can I see
There
that?
might be
So that's
more.
what was going down the road that I saw today.
Yeah, and so it was like, it was actually.
So who's monitoring the pumping? So who was running the pumps today?
Site guys. He left one man behind. They weren't working today due to the rain.
Yeah, there was someone there in
Yeah.
a
So, but
pickup truck, and it looked like,
They didn't notice this going across the road or down the road. I mean, that's significant.
Yeah. That's going across the road.
So, and this was coming down
spruce. Yeah. To be fair, there is also
Well, if I
silt
may,
accumulated
guys,
on the other side of the road, and so that was some of,
this is coming past the site, past the hose area. This is coming from,
yeah, the hose was this way. This is from spruce here. So there are two separate contributions. And then in addition, to be fair, there is also silt accumulated by the side of the road, so it's not all they're pumping. But for sure, spruce is contributing, and
But
for
if silt
sure, the
leaves-
broken
if
hose
silt
is
leaves the
flooding
road,
the
it's
area.
still there,
Right, the
silt.
silt's leaving the road due to the pumping.
well, I don't agree that this is due to the pumping. So where was this coming from?
Yeah,
You know?
that's not due to the pumping, that's just runoff
Coming down the side of the road.
From
From
spruce.
spruce.
It was going across the road. from spruce.
So Grimes is, so this is coming down Grimes,
And it was
and
coming across.
the culvert is like right here.
So from
So
Spruce,
with this is from pumping.
So there's a tree at the corner of Fraser, and it was ponding there and heading across the road.
So I think this comes back to.
I think it's just a broken hose. I think you just need to fix that connection, and it won't
needs
do
to be
that anymore.
monitored.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it's an issue when we see something like that, especially when we're allowing you to draw down.
While we're talking about, can we move on to over by Grimes, over here? Can I ask, and I couldn't deduce why, so you're looking at like Grimes, where is this coming from? Because this is what the pond looks like, but this was an active discharge today, so Spruce is above it. What's connecting, where's that water coming from? Like what's turned on, where would that dirty silt be coming from?
the only thing I can think of is, we're not turned on there. This ties back into the drainage system of Spruce, but it is.
It's actually coming out of the outlet, though, into that pond.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. We unless, I mean, I'd have to check to see if Spruce, so we have the manholes, catch basins in there, but they're not tied.
Something's turned on because water's flowing out of there. So that's what I'm curious, and it's dirty coming out.
Yeah, because it's coming out of the culvert, right?
Exactly.
It looked like?
Yes.
I had noticed when I was out there last week, there was a little bit of a sinkhole at the top of there, but that shouldn't be getting it
I'll have
into
to
the
look at it
pipe.
in the morning, to be honest with you. I don't know, because it's, unless that road filled up and overflowed into a manhole or a catch basin, which aren't, we don't have the road, there's no
Have we
road
talked
in.
about flocking at all?
No.
Okay, so if we're discharge, not this particular one, but the other one, if we're discharging and if we're drawing them down and we're discharging something that potentially might not be clean, do we want to, like we have done with the point, do we want to flock it? So that's something that we've had really good success with.
I think it's a good idea.
So if you can look into that, look into your hose connections. We support you in dewatering, but it has to be done in a healthy,
And the hose
conservative
there's no
manner.
excuse for the hose connections, I'm sorry, I mean, it really isn't.
Well, what
I mean,
happens,
That's something that should be, you gotta have someone on this thing monitoring, and they should notice a hose connection.
it's typically not the connection, guys. What happened is the hose getting run over by the trucks building down the street, and it's creating leaks. That's most likely what happened.
Okay.
I assume like a pressure change or something is
Yeah,
blowing
it-
it out, or it was run over previously and it was a weak spot.
But
was-
it
was
does
just,
come
like,
back to the
fountaining.
point of
Yeah, it needs to be
monitoring.
controlled.
Monitoring.
Monitoring. So I think we were, we agreed to certain circumstances to go ahead and let you dewater, knowing that you were gonna really watch the site. And so I think that's why we're really.
Concerned.
Yep.
We're concerned when we see something like that happen.
You've been turned on. So for the record, we're adding these pictures that were noted today on the 24th.
And I think the rain probably exacerbated it too. I don't know that.
Well,
I don't think there were, it's, yeah, but there has.
doesn't matter.
I
Well,
agree.
all
it
the
needs
more
to be
reason not to
controlled.
de-water when it's
But,
raining.
Yeah, it really,
So,
I agree.
I wouldn't
Okay.
make any exceptions anymore.
okay, so let's go back and do updates, which is where we started. Let's kind of go through the different areas.
Can I just get one follow-up on this? Was this coming out of here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's leaving your site.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
this
I'm
is-
not trying to duck that
No,
portion
no,
of
no.
it. It's not coming from Spruce itself, but it's coming from that old farm access road there, so we need to just close that off. Okay.
This
And
is
I would
your
just be
driveway
really cautious
entrance.
because that culvert going under Grimes, while it looks kind of really wooded in there, has a lot of water flowing off that. It was clear,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's volume through there right now. So just, if you can, keep an eye on that. Okay, so those are submitted, those are on file. Okay, so let's kind of come back and go through site overview.
Okay, so Balsam Lane, infiltration basin 1, I don't believe any action has been taken, anything has been seen in this area with respect to the wetland crossing and the replication area. Some vegetation is taking. The last meeting, Dave Cowell had issued an interim report, and I would expect that probably end of the month and next month.
Anything being pumped into there?
Into
here?
infiltration basin 1? I do not believe so.
No, a lot of water in there. Okay.
That's the restoration area, infiltration basin 2 down here. I don't
So
believe any,
that's one we just talked about.
that, we just talked
Yeah.
about 2, we just talked about 3.
So do you want to go back to 2 and talk about flocking? I think 2 and 3 are good candidates for that.
Was 2 discharging?
It was hard to tell because there's so much volume. It was clear. I don't know if it was discharging. That's the one that you rebuilt the
Right.
kind of where the head wall was.
Right.
So I didn't spend a lot of time right there. I was more concerned that what was coming in was dirty.
So with respect to 2, if it turns out that we
If
are...
it's not discharging, then you don't have to flock.
Correct.
But-
And so if it turns out that it is discharging turbid water, that would be something that we will assess. And with respect to standing water, I haven't seen...
I can speak to that, this, because I've been watching this one. This half here that got silted up in that earlier incident, we were out there, that needs to be cleaned out. We've just waiting for it to dry and get some men in there to manually clean that silt out. This piece functions very well. Doesn't seem to hold water too long, the Grimes Road half of it, Amy.
Okay, yep.
But this back half will hold a little bit, so we're trying to get in there, but based on what we saw here, we gotta figure out if these are here, they're capped, but if they're over capping, or if this road's holding too much water, then it's getting in there,
Well,
we
you
gotta
have
deal with that.
Where's this water? Behind the house that's being built,
Mhm.
there's a lot of water. Is there any way that any of that is making its way down?
We bermed it off,
Okay.
and we opened up some infiltration trenches to get it to dry out a little bit, so it was pretty darn close to dry the end of last week, or I'm screwing my days up, sometime last week, but then we got some rain, it filled back up, but I don't think it's making it down there. We did berm it off.
Yeah, I keep chasing, because there's the top half of Basin
Yeah.
2 is dirty, so I keep chasing it up and waiting to see something going on behind 4 and 5, lots 4 and 5, and
Yeah.
it's not making it through.
No, we've been watching that.
I think you have to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think it's, well, I will figure out where it's going.
But the rebuild of the discharge point worked? It's,
Yeah.
you've noticed
Yeah.
it's effective?
Yeah.
You haven't
Oh,
noticed
yeah,
any
yeah.
other?
No, since the day we did it.
undercurrent? Okay.
Yeah, it's held water and then infiltrated. Like I said, this back piece will hold a little water too, a little longer because it's silted up. We need to clean that out, but the front of it, the vegetation's solid and it's functioning well.
Okay, and then the one at the corner.
Yep, so we had spoken about that. We're actively chasing DPW's opinion to be able to reconstruct it. At that point, I believe the intention is to reconstruct it.
Yeah.
And then we can reassess.
So how, how much did you de-water? How much came out of there?
Today? Or in
Was
general?
today, in general? Like, since you started de-watering, how low have you been able to get it?
Well, we stopped probably, I mean, it's within inches, and we stop.
You get it pretty low.
Yeah, we can get it very
Because
low.
that's, I saw it when it
You
was
start,
low.
you start seeing some of the bottom in the high areas.
Yeah, I'd say more than half of the bottom, you see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then we kind of, you know, we shut it off to let it dry out. We just need a couple of weeks of dry weather, it won't be.
So,
There's been enough water evaporation.
so what is the sequence of that? So, once you have DEP thoughts on that, you'll de-water again and reconstruct. Is that the understanding?
I think we're gonna let it dry out a little bit because
Yeah, that's the goal.
immediately after dewatering, it's still gonna be very, very soggy, if you will. So to get in there to muck it out, we need to have some
So
kind
there's
of
no
stable
sense dewatering
condition.
anymore?
Until you,
It's probably gonna fill up today.
We would need to watch the outlet structure and make sure that we're not discharging any turbid water if
Okay.
we
Then we
get
need
to
to
that
flock.
point.
Okay.
Yeah, if we need,
And we will-
we like 2-3 inches below that overflow, and if that's the case, then we'll need to flock or run it through it.
I'd probably
Well,
be a little progressive on that.
There's a question about whether they not want to flock or not, because they're not flocking now. Basin 3 is being discharged across Grimes outside the buffer zone through that whole
Correct.
series of areas.
Right, but it's not very clean.
No, it's not very clean,
What
so,
we're looking at today, I didn't get there when it was discharging, but based on what was being taken out of there,
yep.
you'll see in the pictures was not clean.
What we can do is we can inspect the second set of check dams and further in the field towards the property line for any evidence of sediment disposition, which is all outside of the buffer zone, and report that back to the commission.
So this is what we're seeing that came out of it, correct? But what we don't know is.
But it was
The
raining,
leak.
it was raining at the time.
But let me look
Yeah.
to see,
Oh, yeah,
just
right.
tomorrow to
That's
see.
the
if-
leak in the leak area.
Yeah, to see if we're gathering any silt from that leak
Yep.
piece. I'll check the direct discharge on it, because that standpipe stone filter system has worked pretty well for us, but I'll review that.
My
I
suggestion
don't know
would
about
be,
today, but it has worked pretty well in the past.
right, so my suggestion would be that before you start to discharge again, let Amy know, turn it on, have her come out so that you can both acknowledge that what you see is clear.
Yeah, check our pipe and check our discharge.
Exactly.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And this was a case of, we've had wonderful luck with that erosion control mix, but it seemed to get matted down. We'll restore that here. That's the access road to the back half, if you will. It's not spruce itself. But you can see that erosion control mix get matted down, so we'll restore that.
Right, so and then two more. Okay.
Yep, so shifting to infiltration basin 4 and open space E, they're kind of intertwined right now.
So what's going into 4 right now?
Is going to be these two series of catch basins and our dewatering activities.
how much have you pulled the pond down?
It's about 8 inches from Friday.
We're getting about 2 to
And
2.5
Friday.
inches a day.
What elevation is
I was, when I was there sometime midday, around noontime, it didn't look like anything had happened, so the silt fence was still buried with water.
Well,
Yeah.
so you got rain.
I mean, I think obviously as our square footage, if you will, reduces, then we'll get better production, but that's, it's a large area, so. And we're hesitant to sort of overcharge this and overcharge the wetlands, so we've been,
Well, I think you have to, and now that we've had rains,
We had an inch and a half by 4 o'clock this afternoon.
so I think you're gonna have to wait.
that's fun.
What do we have?
Inch and a half.
today.
I think you're gonna have to wait to get permission to start to turn that back on till this starts to dry out a little bit, because there was a lot of water in there today. So if we don't get rain for a little bit, let that settle in before you start to put more water in there.
That's not gonna be until next week.
That's fine, we just gotta work around Mother Nature, you can't.
Well, there's another
Well,
storm
Wednesday's-
coming in
Yeah,
on Friday or
Wednesday's
something.
Sunday, though.
We'll watch it. What we've been doing is pumping, this runs, like I said, we're getting a couple inches, 2 to 2.5 a day here. We don't quite have the pump at its capacity, we have it throttled down a little bit. But what we're seeing here is we're getting infiltration in this pond at 4 inches a night. which is good. So we'll watch it. We'll bring Amy out if she has time to see where we are on the whole thing. And we're getting excellent infiltration here. The water that's coming out is very clean.
Let's just remember, though, that was like the one that was built well, and we don't want to...
Oh, we're on the same page. Yeah.
We don't want to fracture or break that
Yeah.
relationship of it working.
Yeah.
So you're asking it to do a job that it was not designed to do. So I think we have to be very cognizant of that. And now, if it is very wet here, we're going to be changing kind of your moisture levels in that as well, so...
Yeah, we're not pressing the pump tomorrow by any stretch.
Okay.
No, we're not.
So
But what I was
I think you
suggesting
need
is,
to let the commission know when you're ready to turn that back on. And that, I think you want to make sure that that has settled a little bit and that we haven't had continued rains.
yeah, that's what I suggested. We'll bring you out before we do anything.
And just remember, I don't work on Fridays, usually.
Neither do these sometimes.
Yeah. It is.
The only time I hear from Brian is on Fridays.
You're welcome. Yeah, the anticipated 8-day pumping is not reality, so
Yeah.
it is what it is. At some point, we're gonna have a
So they're
crash.
coming back
You
in
have your elevation
on
markers in
7th?
place, right?
We do with the
Yeah.
second stadia
Yeah.
rod
Yeah, I saw on the
installed
backside, too.
Yeah.
over by the fence post and the farmer's pump.
And I'm sorry, is that upside down? Because the numbers I've been getting from
Yeah, it goes
Mike,
from 84 to 91.
the numbers are going up, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
No,
numbered
it's-
upside down maybe or
It
something?
is.
Yeah.
It's numbered in a unique fashion.
It took me a while to figure out what I was looking at here. All right.
Right, so we're going to put you on the agenda for the 7th for an update. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to take your pictures as well.
Thank you.
You fixed the leak.
Yeah, we just have to get.
Yep.
You put a mat across the road? I mean, because that hose
We've
really,
tried it all.
it really heaves
Yeah.
when you drive over it.
We had a sandwich between 2x10s but there's just a lot
Oh.
of trucks heading down the road.
Yeah, 2x10's gonna pinch it too, and there's construction down
Yeah.
the way.
They can do it
Can
on
they
plate,
come
they
in
can
the other
plate it.
way?
Yeah, and well,
Yeah, you're just
I've
gonna have to
seen
plate that,
mats.
yeah.
Could the construction trucks come up grind lane and around that way so you weren't running over the hose?
They're not ours.
Oh.
They're doing the lots
Yeah,
down the
it's-
street.
Yeah.
Yeah, our guys come in and out of Blossom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cooper Farm.
Close to be on time.
I know, I saw.
Let's maintain.
No one's used to you being on time, so everybody's been disappearing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
They sent you in here all alone?
For now, they might be here, but that's okay. So I'm Scott Goddard Consulting, wetlands consultant, and I've been brought in as the erosion control specialist. Aha!
We're in the other room.
Okay. I thought you had abandoned me and left me to fly solo. That's okay, though. So, you want to go with Amy first, or do you want me to take it?
Why don't you introduce everybody so you know who's here?
Okay, so Scott Goddard Consulting.
George Hall, Anderson, over here.
Matthew Field.
Michael Field.
So we responded to a breach in the erosion about a week or two ago as a result of that high-intensity storm that Littleton experienced. So there were several breaches. There was 3 areas we identified that had a BVW impact of sediment as a result of that, and that was outlined on this plan here, here, and here. This is a very small pocket inside of the BVW, just small sediments on the leaves. This was a very small area here, which had about 1 inch depth, but the significant area, and I think with the area that was originally noted by Amy, was coming in from this point and over here. So we sort of trace it down probably about 1,000 feet from the entry point.
Now, the
Yeah.
wetland line isn't on there, though.
No, it's pretty much, let's call it the edge of the woodlands. If you remember, I mean, more or less.
Well, you brought a plan that actually has the wetlands flags on
Yeah,
it in
yeah.
the areas, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can show you on this plan, it's not as accurate. No, that was our,
Why is it not as accurate?
these are just sketches. So, this would, I just show orange, a line, orange, orange. Okay, we'll use this one, it's fine. There's nothing surveyed, this is just me going out in the woods and
Okay.
sketching
So
something
if
up.
we can just for a point of clarity, many of us were out on the site today, and when we referenced going through, when we talked about this, we were told that the points of impact have been plotted. So, because when I was out there trying to reference wetlands flags that you couldn't make legible, and there were spans of 4 or 5
Because
of
the
them.
numbers are worn off.
Exactly.
Yeah, mhm.
We were told that, don't worry, those are on the plan that's being represented today, that you or someone from the office went out and has kind of like the scope of where all the impact was. So Amy and I, that's what was represented today, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the
If you have it out there with a
expectation.
GPS.
Yeah, it wasn't, surveyed in. These points
So
in
those-
here
the-
were.
right, but
were-
that doesn't,
Yeah.
this particular map doesn't really help us because it doesn't show what's in the field now.
I understand. We can certainly go out and, GPS
Okay.
GPS in some points. It's not that big of a deal. We know what needs to get done in order to, remediate the issue, and we've submitted a report to Amy outlining the scope and sequence of how that would take place.
Right, and if we can just reference that for a second. So the commission has this,
Anna,
many of
just
us
copy.
have read it, but when you reference flags
Yes.
of work
Yes,
and then your areas of impact,
right.
some of these numbers and some of these flags, I don't know, particularly like when we were out today, you couldn't, a lot of us have been out and the flags are no longer numbered. So to be able to reference some of these.
I
Yeah,
have a plan that has the flag numbers on it.
Yeah, this has the flag numbers on it as well. So you can see it's a flag 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. So the flag numbers
Yep.
are visible on this site.
But the flags in the field
In the
have
field,
holes there.
right, they're not. So, I mean, it's not a big deal for us to go out and we can, reestablish some flagging with some visible flag numbers so that it's, helpful to the board.
Well, it's going to be helpful for whoever is cleaning it up as well, because you have more than one area that has to be cleaned up. So from a reference point, you're going to be able to show the area, whoever's cleaning it up, what the focus is. So, and also from the commission standpoint, we're going to have different conversations and different methodology of how each one's going to get cleaned up. So that's why we want to be really specific whether we're referring that to A, B, C, D. Because there were at least 4 areas today that we saw that have to be cleaned up and worked on.
All right. We'll use this plan, and to the extent that the commission feels it's necessary to fine-tune a map showing the areas, we can do that. In my experience, there's a lot of field determination that takes place with the consultant.
There's a lot of cleanup, so.
For sure.
yeah.
And that's why, we're actively engaged with the cleanup crew.
Some of us would have
to-
taken more notes today
you know,
because we were under the assumption that it was going to be done for tonight.
Having a surveyed plan. of
Yeah,
that-
so we know where the extent
Yeah, I
of
think
the
that-
impact.
Right.
So that's how it was
Accurate definition
represented.
is key.
Because
to
I know it's not straight
get
lines
through
and
the
straight
process.
loops and.
No.
And for you guys, too.
The other one that I showed you showed more of the path that it takes, and that was pulling some tape and
And
getting.
how
some-
far it goes off the property as well.
So, look,
Can't just stop at a property line.
we will update the plan with a GPS location of the extent of the sediment, and we will refresh the wetland flags in the field so that the numbering is readily visible.
Now, who owns the property on which it's flowed?
Daniel Pickett.
Okay. Let's go ahead and just have each area and talk about the impact to each area and clean up, stabilization of it, and then cleanup of it as well.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with the big one?
Sure.
Because, and that's the reason I showed.
What are we calling the big one?
Yeah, so for the point of reference, let's call it like, even just,
Behind engine-
you want to go
engine
like
point one.
A, B, C, D,
Sure.
like we do. We want to make it as simple as possible because there's going to be a lot of hands looking at whatever map or plan you're going to use.
So, and this location here was tape measured in, this, and paced off. So this is a reasonable approximation of what's out there. And the reason I want to show this one is because it does show the property line, and it does show,
at a 1 inch equals 300 scale plan, that's about 3 inches. So we're talking about, 800-900 feet, off locus onto the Pickett property. And in order to get there, we would be looking to do some access points at the edge of the Pickett field to get in there and do some of that cleanup work.
You mean off on someone else's property to access, because you've got that steep grade right now?
We're gonna be able to get permission to do that.
Yes, we've already talked to Danny.
I talked to Danny. That's not a problem.
Okay.
So, during cleanup, prior to cleanup, the most important thing is regaining control of the source. Because if we're doing cleanup work and we have another issue, it's sort of, just kind of wasted effort. So there's been a lot, why don't you go over the activity that you've done on the site, that you've done to sort of stabilize up in this area?
Want to look at a plan,
Because a
Michael?
lot has happened.
So do you have a plan that has like some of the things that we saw today?
I do not know if JJ put them all on. I haven't even opened it up yet.
Because in our experience, where we usually start is what has been immediately created. Because then we're going to be able to know, working with your engineer and your wetland scientist, if it stays, or if it goes, or if it has to be made bigger as well. So it's helpful to look at a plan that now has everything that you've built in the last week.
Yes.
Starting on, right up the top of Vint Lane, we have 2 check dams here, and then one right here.
And are those on that plan? I can't see.
No, they are not on
I
here.
put, and each day we take them off if we're working, so we put them back on. Behind this right here, we have approximately 400 feet of riprap, 3 feet high. Behind that silt fence. And this area is depressed now to if any water comes down, this is depressed lower than anywhere else, so it stays there. If it gets through the riprap, then it goes into the stump grindings that I put in. And then from Basin 2 all the way over to Basin 1, I put stump grindings, and right along the edge of the the limit of work, along with hay bales behind those as well.
So we noticed today when we were out on site that you still have a lot of flow that's coming down. So my understanding is that the siltation fences where you've got doubled up was put in, but it wasn't installed. So it's
It was
still
installed.
running underneath.
It was installed, and then it just blew out.
Okay.
Then we put hay bales in front of it.
Right, but it's still
And we had-
today, it had flow.
Correct.
So as we I think what's healthy dialogue is that as we go through, that the commissioners can tell you, okay, so here's one that needs to be addressed quickly, because we have more rain coming in. So ultimately, we're looking at a long-term solution, but you've got to get some things done quickly. And that's one of those areas, because that's your highest impact of where it's going down and going off-site.
So you are allowing flow, though, into one, where you had blocked it off before, or?
No, I think
We
it's
actually-
just getting there. It's below, I mean,
It's below it
raining.
because it's coming down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still a steep slope. It's still a 3-to-1 slope behind that. It's still, I mean, I have all the water that's coming down from these roads is staying up here. It did not, it didn't crest over the berm that we have right here anyway today. The exposed area right here is covered with stump grindings. There's no erosion coming down through that. Between Basin 2, I had a temporary pond right here, and that didn't go over that today.
There was some flow on some of those when we were out.
Down
so-
at the corner of lot 13, there's some water coming down, and it's still, there's hay bales there. Still,
Sarah walked on top of the whole road there.
The only way you can stay afloat.
yeah.
Is it still going through that pipe? Are you-
Yes, and on the side of this cross culvert, there's stone on this right here. It was loomed and seeded from lots 24 down to partially through lot 23. on Thursday.
12, 13, 14, and 15 have been loomed with a berm on the edge of the road and seeded as well to direct the water this way down to, we have 3 basins here, temporaries, with berms that were built and stump grindings, and over here as well.
And then out here, there's the water that's going into Basin 3 temporarily. We have a windmill row of stump grinds around the outlet of that as well.
So a couple things that we noticed today, that even on banks that are vegetated, there's significant breakthrough as well. So
On the
those
back
are-
side of 2, there's a trail here that we've got to loom and take care of here,
Of a
Temp-
washout?
but-
of the washout.
Like a lot of washouts through there, so come up with some temporary solution, whether it's something, but also keeping it from channeling more, because it is continuing to flow past your erosion controls and going beyond that.
Since that occurred, we have directed all the water with the check dams. So that was a previous incident that we'll take care of.
But the erosion control at the bottom of that has already topped over, so it's ineffective.
I'll get another row of hay bales and silt fence around that tomorrow.
Well, anywhere that we have, half the silt, say, hay bales, filled up with silt, we have to clean out behind them
Mhm.
and pull that back.
Mhm.
That'll be part of the effort. And then everything from the silt fence down, where we had siltation deposition, is what we're gonna have to remove. And we're gonna do all that work. It's gonna be all handwork, a lot of handwork.
I think you have to talk, we'll get to that, but you have to talk about access for that as well. With other sites, getting back to what we've done when we've had breaches, is that we have requested plans that actually have what is on site right now, like what you have built, or what your contractors have built. Environmental monitor, I think we're there. So I think we've had enough impact to the wetlands and to other private properties, and I think we're hearing that it's potentially gone off property. Would like to have that discussion about who the monitor is going to be for this property, in conjunction with an engineer and either yourself or with Patriot as well. So it's what we've done with other large-scale projects that have had challenges.
So we routinely, I didn't get involved in this capacity until after there was the breach. But we're currently monitoring many large sites. Mark Arnold from my staff, he's a certified professional erosion control
So did Mark
specialist.
come up with the area of what has been done in terms of the mulching, the
He walked around
creation of the
Friday
pond, the
yep.
berms? So who gave
Yeah,
them guidance of?
We gave them the instruction, right, Mark was involved in that.
Okay, so
to-
that's
to-
the type of plan that
Right.
you would need,
To do
what
some
was given.
immediate action items, and then, these sites are dynamic, right, because they're building the sites still.
Yep.
And
But until they can get it stable,
Right.
it's not going to be as dynamic, because you do have to now come up with what is on the ground.
For sure.
So now the engineer and whatever wetland scientist or monitor that you have will all work in conjunction.
Yes.
Because we can't have the impact going forward.
Agreed.
So I think that's where we're at now, is the first discussion of who those parties are gonna be, so that we have the expectation of how quickly you can have a plan put together, and also remediation for that.
Yes. And I would propose that we would, while we're doing the remediation work, we would give Amy weekly reports, and, if that would be,
I think you're looking at, so this is an immediate action.
yes.
So this is what's going to happen tomorrow,
Right.
not what's going to happen weeks from now. So we're looking at how to best stabilize this particular property.
And so these guys have done, a significant portion of what needs to be done in the immediate, which resulted in, some successes.
So the commissioners,
with the storm.
so it's basically putting it on paper,
Yes.
so that engineers can also look at that, what's built
Yeah.
is structurally what should be there.
And it's working.
Right, and it's working.
Is this plan just a notice of intent plan, or is there new stuff on there? I can't tell what that is.
You said this
This
was a-
plan right here, this this right here is right behind, Jonathan said, okay, let's take this area right here to do a temporary basin, so we're not going into basin 1.
Okay, so this is a new plan?
Yes.
All right.
And then if we need additional storage, we can cut into, between basin 2 and, so this is lot 6.
What you're describing in purple has been surveyed.
Proposed, yes. He said, why don't we make another pond right here? I'll have to dig it out. He
Okay,
said.
so that's a proposed, not
Yes.
what's already there. Okay.
No, that's proposed. The purple's
Okay.
proposed. So we put the riprap in here. He has an area right here for storage right here, coming down this road right here. If we need additional storage, we can put a basin here with riprap coming out and stabilizing it, essentially building another infiltration basin until.
Are you asking, Sarah, for a kind of a stripped-down, less busy version of this plan that shows
We want to see
the
what's.
measures that are in place today and what
Correct.
additional ones that we believe need
That
to
is
be done
correct.
in the immediate?
So
And
that-
you want
that
that
is- that
in
is
Amy's
how-
hands by tomorrow, end of business tomorrow kind of thing?
That's how, when you have an impact like that, that's how every site operates.
Yes.
So we stop what we're doing,
Yep.
we figure out what you've already done, and was it in the best interest to do what you've done without the commission knowing that? And we work with what's already been done. We talk with the engineers, the environmental monitor, and go, okay, going forward, just like with other sites, we do build a lot of temporary basins. But that is as a communal effort between conservation, the engineers, and whether it's how many contractors are there? So you're there, and then
And Patriot.
Patriot as well. So it's a combined effort of everyone having the same communication. We did this with the Point, we continue to do this with the Point, so that everybody has to work together.
They're willing to, I mean, they were there today, they're willing to work with us,
They who?
Patriot.
Okay.
And what about the SWIP? Did you guys, you able to change the SWIP? Because we were commenting on our other site walk that the SWIP says that they were going to discharge into Basin 1 and use that as a construction basin. And so so it was pointed out that they need to change the SWIP to, that it's
I
a
think
living
that's-
document.
So that'll be something in a future discussion, I think.
But that'd be something that these plans should just be attached to, the SWIP.
So why don't we work on getting you that by the end of business tomorrow? An updated version of this plan, kind of stripped back from all the busyness, showing what's on the ground there today and what additional measures we need to do, both short and long term, on the site. Is that appropriate?
Are you looking for maybe a month look ahead or something?
I think so.
To
but-
build these
but-
basins and stabilize them, it's gonna take some time for them not to, do with these, erosion.
It's very saturated.
Right. So that's why we have to pull back and do things probably further up the hill. So to alleviate some of that water that's really going down the hill. Can we talk a little bit about, I want to make sure that we have the discussion tonight about access to cleanup, because that should be ongoing, because the more rain we have, the further you're going to be chasing it.
Mhm.
So can we just talk
I mean, I
about
have
that?
access, we can come down right here and have access going this way. This is, the backside of this right here, it's all multi-floor rows, and there's an access point to get into here to get to this point right here, without having to go down a steep slope and go through all the silt fence, wattle, hay bales, and this
Are you
point
talking
right
about
here.
accessing from the neighbor's property?
No,
as
from
well?
our backfield.
From this backfield right here, it's essentially the same elevation all the way over to
And
the
then you'll
Toa
be crossing
Basin.
through the wetlands.
To get to it,
Mhm.
Yes.
yes, but it's all wetlands.
Well, what she's saying is, so we have an impact area here.
Yep.
So we would create, by doing that, we would create additional impact beyond what's already impacted to cross over to get to it.
I can use,
Well, yeah.
there's
So
other,
that's
there's
all
two,
gonna be
there's.
part of what
right.
you tell us you're gonna do, but you have to find an area that you may have to use a different piece of equipment or solely by hands, but I think that's where your engineer and
Yep.
whoever your monitor is gonna be able to do that for you, having the least amount of impact. There's gonna
Right,
be,
he said-
there's
he
gonna be
said-
a lot of impact.
Right, he said there's, we can put plywood down on this area right here.
Dan-
And I
Dan-
think that was in that report.
It was.
It is.
Yeah, but it
so-
also
but
talks
that's
about the
most-
general contractor. So our communication is really who the monitor, so we want to put names to tasks going forward. So
So
who's
we will,
going to
we
do
will be
what?
the environmental monitor. Goddard Consulting, specifically Mark Arnold from my company,
Okay.
will be the environmental monitor.
Okay.
And the contractors are gonna be these guys with Patriot,
Okay.
unless you have someone else you
No,
want.
I
to
mean,
do- to do the
the-
peak.
you know,
It's gonna be us.
we've explored conveyors. They're smaller conveyors, they're 20 feet long, you can set them on hay bales. You can
So
set
we're
them up
not
to...
here to give you advice
No, I
for what
understand
you're
that.
going to do. What we want to do is take your plans, see your points of interest, and then commissioners will go out and go, yes, that's a great place for your conveyor or your plywood.
Mhm.
So that's where I think we're at right now.
I personally think this is the easiest access right here. It's essentially the same elevation all the way through.
But to be fair, there has to be an environmental person that,
Yes.
that looks at that. From a construction
No, I
standpoint, it might
mean,
be
Mark and I,
easy.
we did walk out there.
we walked out
and
there.
we actually walked out there, we looked at that, and he's like, that's a, you know, there is a lot of multi-floor rows down through here in this corner anyway. Other than that, there's not a lot of,
It is possible to go in and remove the sediment, if it's only, kind of a, quarter inch or less. Typically, we just kind of rake that in and leave it, but mix it with the organic. If anything more than that has to be removed. And so,
But so you have a good amount of surveying to
Right.
do in order, so that kind of comes back to the original where we started this discussion, that in order to see the scope of it and the bird's eye view, you are going to have to go in and shoot some spots.
so okay, because every town handles it a little differently. You would like to see that done before we just go in there and start with. the
Yeah.
cleanup.
Yes.
We need a
that's
base-
the
we need a
way that we-
baseline.
That's the
That's
way that
fine.
we roll.
That's fine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and everything needs to be stabilized too.
Yeah.
So there's no.
I
additional
think-
We've been
contribution.
doing that daily.
No, I
Concurrently,
know.
I think,
I know you have.
so it sounds like from when we were there and you were there earlier, that there were still some areas that can be worked on
I mean,
to keep
I
going
I
through.
looked at this and I didn't notice that the erosion right there. Tomorrow, I'll get hay bales and silt fence.
Well, the silt fence wasn't installed, so the water, so
It
it's
was
just.
wattle, it was wattle. But I'll get
No,
hay
our
bale, I'll get hay
umbrella
bales.
It wasn't towed in.
Right.
Sarah's talking about the silt fence down in this
Right
area
here.
behind
Right down by
basin
one.
number 1.
Right, where you have two separate siltation fences, I could put the
Yep.
umbrella all the way through both.
In between it was wattle and hay bales.
So the water and the silt was going right down through it, so it just needs to be installed properly.
Okay.
So I think to focus on,
So we will work on a more robust plan with more details based on what you're asking, so that we can.
so do you want to go through what you think we're asking, so that we can all be on the same page?
Sure.
Good.
With respect to this, we're gonna give you an updated overall site plan that's less busy with the construction details, more focused on what's there currently in terms of erosion.
Because the
control.
mulch is helping,
Mhm.
but on the plan, to be able to say where you've already put the mulch.
And Sarah, you commented on something earlier, which is not to be understated, which is the less we concentrate water all to one point, the more success we're gonna have. So smaller controls further up into the site are going to be always more effective than having the one big holdback area. So, and as the site changes, that will be updated and modified, and will be part of what I believe to be at least a weekly monitoring report submitted to Eden. Plus-
And you might
When it
need,
comes to something being built, it must be run, if it's significant.
Yes, run
That's
by
not
her
an
on
in-
everything.
That's not an in-field change. So if it's something significant.
Yes.
oh, this is significant.
No, meaning going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I just want to be clear.
Right, if there's anything that takes place on this site. that-
I can't approve everything they need to do to control their site.
No, that's what I'm saying. They need to come back in and have a meeting.
Well, so can we discuss this temporary pond right here between 6 and Lot 7, and the temporary pond that's, some of the stuff that's, I mean, it's hard to put this temporary pond in now, because we have the structures in, we have
The water?
the water line in. There's a hydrant, that's in.
But I think that's when you have a plan, and that's where it sounds like Mark's forte with Scott is
Mhm.
really gonna be the one that's gonna guide you on that.
Can we get the approval to a more defined plan done by Amy before this commission reconvenes? In other words, there's an incentive on these guys, and I think to the benefit of the wetland, to do this cleanup work quickly, right? And so if
Well,
we-
there might be things that you propose tonight that we would say, go ahead and start on those. But so we're still taking it all in to see, there could be some remediations or cleanup that you'd like to go ahead and start with.
Like we started, we were gonna bring gravel in for more check dams, but it rained today. So we cannot get gravel or that done when it's raining.
Short of us not having it marked out in great detail, we do have it approximated on this other map. I would like to see some of the cleanup work start, handwork, but it doesn't sound like the commission wants that until we have.
Well, it sounds, you could do handwork, but that doesn't require
Yes.
access or
It's
damage
gonna
to
be
get
wet
through.
again at the end of the
You
week.
can always start to
Thursday
pull
night
it
to Friday,
out.
yes.
We can start where it went in,
Like
correct?
You can always start
Next
pulling it
week
out
it's
by
supposed to be
hand.
Yep.
It's just that you
70s
can't
and
put
80s
equipment
and
Five or
in
six
there.
days.
Right.
You
But
can
not as
all-
warm as it
And
has
that's,
been.
personally, that you should
Yeah.
probably talk about doing that tonight, because I think the commission, should talk about that there are some things that are done by hand, which would help you to go ahead, so.
Because it's just gonna keep getting
Right,
further
but
and
you
further
have to ask
back.
that of us.
I see most, if not all, of the work in the BBW is handwork, because it's not all so concentrated in one area that you would want to scoop it with machines and you cause more damage.
We
than
don't want
it
any
would.
machines in there, it's all
You
gonna
know,
be handwork.
so I see it as handwork, starting, basically using that as the path that it traveled, starting down here and working it backwards, and so this light stuff gets raked, then once you get the semi-concentrated little pockets, you shovel those into buckets, either that or we take the plywood, we lay it down on top of the sediments and use a little ATV, that we can put some buckets on to truck it in and out of there, or
Then
we do it with
that's-
a wheelbarrow.
Then that's not handwork, that's.
We can do it with a wheelbarrow, we can do it with wheelbarrow and plywood.
So I just want to be clear that everybody knows what
We can
handwork
do it
is
we can do it
versus.
with wheelbarrows and plywood. That's the easiest handwork.
I'd rather
to
do it with a conveyor that's getting set up
The
on
light
hay
conveyors
bales.
on the hay bale?
Right, but that's gonna have to
Yeah,
come on the
I mean, I
plan
don't
of
have
where
a
that's gonna be.
problem. That's
Yeah, that's a good-
a good solution.
It-
All right.
They're very
Right, but
versatile.
You have
They
to
can
work, you
get-
have to work from an environmental standpoint, we now need to monitor the site,
But if
Yep,
we're gonna
we
do
have one.
what I hear you saying, if we're gonna use something like a conveyor,
then you're gonna
then
have
we
to
have
have
to
a
show it on the
plan
plan
with
and
that.
have you approve that prior to
If you're
doing
saying,
it.
can you go in with a bucket tomorrow and move it, like a kid's bucket, pail, start to move stuff out?
Like a Homer
I
bucket,
think
even.
we're happy for you to start to remove that.
And then with that-
All right, I'll
whe-
start to-
Wheelbarrows and plywood?
But that's kind of what you need at the bottom anyway, because that's going to go fairly quickly. You're not going to want
Right.
to set up a
The-
conveyor belt down at the bottom because you'll be
The
moving up.
conveyor belt, the conveyors are, I think, are mostly gonna be concentrated in this area right here down between
At the
basin,
thicker-
and then they go down, and then by the time it gets to the stone wall, we're at between half-inch and most of that is concentrated in the intermittent stream anyway. That can get all,
Get access from the neighbor's property.
Right.
We already have it.
I mean, that would be
Yeah.
the best place for that
Right.
conveyor, because it's so steep.
it's steep, but I mean, even over
It's
here.
very level down
so
there
if
at the
I-
bottom.
And once you get down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I, if you do a 10 by 10 area, it fills up one 5-gallon bucket.
Yep.
The biggest concern for me is this area right here, the amount of sediment right here, and it's not silt, it's sand, gravel, and then from that point on, where it started to slow down, the silt migrated further than the bigger gravelly material.
The stuff that's in the buffer zone that we can reach from the, behind the hay bales, we can pull back with the machine, I would think.
It's pretty wet.
It's wet there, it's impossible to even get down there.
It's really wet.
Really wet. I think that's something that you're gonna wanna talk with Mark and put that together. I think if we're talking about equipment.
So the only stuff we'll do without your
Yeah.
explicit approval of a program is handwork with.
In buckets.
How do you feel about the little electric conveyor belts? They're 20 feet long that sit on a hay bale.
You
I mean,
heard support, but we have to be.
Okay, I'll have that on, I'll have that put on, and we'll keep, I'll work on anything from, that's, I think is gonna migrate with the siltier material.
And you said you've already got a couple rows of hay bales down in there?
We do.
I do.
Up against the stone wall
But I
and
think
then...
what you
Yep.
have to understand, the commission is not going to approve something without knowing what is there.
Correct.
So it's a
So
plan,
we'll-
so.
we'll have a-
we're-
we'll have a
I
We'll have
think
the plan for you tomorrow. And we'll start.
That's ambitious.
As quickly as possible. Tomorrow will be.
Let's
we'll
set
be-
a deadline.
we'll be in a
Amy's
business
not here
mode.
on Friday.
Tell you what, I won't be here tomorrow, so...
Okay.
Then the Wednesdays.
So Wednesday, I think, because I think if you have on that list of all the things we're asking, I think it's some surveying, certainly, that
Yep.
have to be done, because we want to know what's been built.
So we can locate these wetland flags and
Yep.
it's basically between 6 and
But it's
14.
it's all of it is going to be on that plan, in
Yep.
addition to what you've built.
Out here is gonna have to be GPS because there's no wetland flags that,
We could GPS everything. It doesn't,
You can.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
not to the
Right.
tenth
It's
of
not
a
hard.
foot accuracy. I mean, this is,
Right.
this is.
Yep. And a berm is a temporary berm, so if you just say, hey, the berm is 3 feet wide by 3 feet tall, just go ahead and put it there. Just like you dug that pond.
And you may need a series of plans, one to show what's there now, and because it gets so complicated, one to show what you expect going forward.
Because on that, we know that the places that are vegetated did much better than the ones that aren't. So we're also looking forward to getting that vegetated, but it's too
Right.
wet right now.
it's too wet. And the site, I mean, it's a dynamic site where there's a 10-foot cut here and there's a 10-foot
There's
fill
a
here.
lot that's open.
And there's no way to say, let's phase one this, because there's no place to put this material until you
Right.
expose the,
Yep.
you know, remove the loam to get the subgrade to begin with, to right
But
there.
that's the challenge of the site, is that it ultimately probably would have done better had it been phased because of situations like this. So it's just that there's a lot that's open right now. So I think we were hopeful that this summer we weren't going to have as much rains.
We certainly were.
So going forward,
For no hurricanes.
you have your list.
I know what you're asking for.
But there's a lot of erosion control methods that should go in tomorrow. Like, there's still a lot of, you could even throw in more wattles, you can fix that siltation. So I think it's, ultimately, the more you do tomorrow is less that you're gonna have to chase Friday when it rains again.
Mhm. Yep. I mean, I can get in a couple more rows of hay bales out there as well. I mean, this right here, where I put the stump grindings, there wasn't washout, there wasn't any, and
But you don't have any more on site.
I have
we
two-
do.
I have
There's a
200
big
another
stockpile
200
in back.
yards.
another 200 yards. We could put more between here and
So
I have
leave
hay bales
that,
right there.
and, just,
Yeah.
let's leave that up to the engineers of where that's gonna go.
So we're also, when this is, we're gonna have to have a restoration plan also for the damage.
Well, that's sort of what they'd already got it submitted and we'll work on.
We're gonna
Okay.
end up
Yeah.
redoing this, you know, with
I'm
with
thinking
more
more of
robust
the
information.
impact
Right.
that the fill material had on the existing wetland.
Right. And I think we'll know that better once we're actually in that wetlands to see what's going on.
Yeah.
But there is definitely gonna be restorative measures with that amount of volume of silt that's come down there. I mean, you've some pockets that, what are 6 inches, 4,
Mhm.
5, 6 inches?
Coming right out through here, in this area right here, there's probably a 25-foot by 80-foot area that really has the majority of the gravel and then the siltier material goes that way a little bit. There was a stone wall that slowed it down, so then by the time you got to the stone wall, it's half inch or less. And then there was another stone wall down here where it essentially stopped, but, you know,
You have
quarter
quite a
inch or
few
less.
breakout areas where what we call the trash area.
Yep.
Down where the rocks
That'd be
were.
right here, Michael.
There's some other
Little.
breaks that went through, so you'll see that while you're focusing on that area that's in the purple, you've got a lot of different areas along that have breached through. So I think once you start getting down there, you'll be able to see all those other areas.
And I'd like to see get those marked somehow, pin flags or something, so that we know, a month from now when we go out, we say, is this old or is it new? Have we all seen it or not? Let's get some of those small areas marked up too.
Even just put a pole in so we know, and you can have it to scale, so put a pole every
Yes.
200 feet, so that way we know, okay, that area's already been done. So from a conservation standpoint, and you'll be able to go, okay, that area's done. Just some way to mark the site, because it is so big.
Mhm.
So I don't think we need to, unless you want to, talk about the other little areas, because we're gonna do the same.
They all
thing.
still need to get
Yes.
cleaned up. Let's talk about what else goes on in this property. So are you allowing them to still do construction, or is this the focus of trying to get the site stable? Because the equipment that's running back and forth may alter the stability of what goes down there. So that's for the commission.
Well, they're two different crews. I mean, Patriot
But
is the one
it's still the
doing the
same
road.
site, it's still under the same order of conditions. So, when we talk about the site, we're talking about the site. So, it doesn't matter if there's 10 contractors, it's whoever owns it and operates it.
So that is one thing you need to do tonight is ratify the enforcement order. And it's a very loose enforcement order right now. It does not stop work. So you just need to consider how much they are doing, whether or not they need to stop other stuff or it's better to keep going.
We thought
Say you
at
just
least-
can't put in the septic line yet because
Yeah.
that's going to be a nightmare.
That would be 3 weeks out anyway.
Yeah.
The next phase was gravel and then finish water line from here down to the cul-de-sac and gravel the whole road.
Yeah, we thought at the previous walk that it would be better for the site to have you move forward and do the gravel and stabilize the road like that and move toward paving it, because right now is just so much open dirt that
I agree.
it would be
We're-
worse to wait.
All structures are in, catch basins are in, the
Double barrel.
Can't
double
turn any
barrel.
of those on.
Mm.
That crossing's in. Septic drains are in. All drainage is done to this point right here. There's a couple crossings for electrical that have to go in prior to graveling the road. That would for sure help. You know, with this right here, they still have to put the water line in to gravel the rest of that road right there. That was,
And that's really wet right now. A lot of
they
that
can't, I
is
mean,
going
they won't
down.
be able to work tomorrow.
Right.
Um,
And then rain on Friday. I just
Well-
feel like we're here, we need to talk about it so that everybody's on the same page, so.
I can focus on, the things I can focus on is the sill fence, all this right here that we just talked about. I just think it would be beneficial for them to, you know, Wednesday, they'll
But it's
loam
still
and
their
see this
trucks
right
running
here.
through, so you're still impacting going through.
If no truck went in there, it would still impact if it just rained. I think the quicker we get this site to a point where we can put binder down, the better off everybody will be. I mean, I still have to move material here to put material here so I can loam this. We still have to take some of this material right here to use for breakout for septic system.
So moving that material causes me some concern, anywhere around that area.
This area right here it's high right now. The slope, it's going to make it so it's not a 8% slope here. It's going to make it a 4% slope there. But I also can take that material out and then put loam on it, and I can put loam right here as well. I put loam from lot 25 to 23 last Thursday and Friday and seeded it. And we put loam right here as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we did have, it didn't rain today, that's what we would be focusing on,
How did the loam fare with the rain today?
Good. It's thick.
And the seed stayed?
Yep.
I mean, did you do hydro seeding, or was it just?
Regular seed. And this right here, putting the loam right here, channeled all the water that was gonna go down here and go across to that cross culvert, and went down in here, and then I put stump grindings right here where it started to go out into the existing field right there, the grass field. I think it did a great job considering we had 1.5 inches of rain today.
Well, it's up to the commission. It's just that I feel as though it's a discussion that we have to have so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And also, right now, the enforcement order is just on the roadway order conditions. It's not on all the house lot order conditions.
I would like the opportunity to try to mitigate some of these problems and have this keep going forward without them having to stop work. I think it's going to be a bigger impact to the site if they have to stop.
So are you saying that none of their work was impactful for any of the buffer zone? So it was all your work? So like coming through, all your work is all this work, so theirs was up there. So I'm just trying to, it's like he, they, so I just want to be.
Their focus is on components in the road, the drainage, the water line. And my focus before it rained a lot was removing the overburden on each lot and bringing up other lots that were needed fill, and stripping loam and putting loam back on these lots.
Is there any benefit for you to work in unison to try and focus up here a little faster versus you just doing that and Patriot doing the other side? To have Patriot help you
move material and stabilize. Well, I have that in one of their focuses is they have to remove loam. We've had probably 40% of our time has been downtime since we started work, trying to get loam out of here, out of the right-of-way that was stripped out of the right-of-way. It takes 2 days or a day and a half for it to dry out enough so that they can remove loam. There's 15,000 yards of loam to remove out of the site that's in the right-of-way. We haven't had a full 5-day work week since I've started.
Since April 15th.
Well, Sarah also brought up a point where when you're finishing the road, you're putting the storm drain system in. Are you going to allow the water from that storm drain system to go where it's supposed to go,
Well,
or not?
these two basins
Not.
have been established now.
So you're going to have the
The storm scepter's in. All the catch basins are in.
but they're not
So-
turned on.
They're a 1.5 feet higher than grade right now as it is. Nothing's gone into them. And
Good.
Well, if that went into them, you'd.
So
be cleaning them
when
up.
would you be planning on turning those on? And
they would
would
have
it
to
be
go on
prepared
after. They would have to.
That's
It
still a
would
ways
become.
away.
We'd have to get.
After paving? Is that what-
Once binder goes on, they'll be functional,
Right.
because they're at binder grade right now. All
Okay.
the
They're all
roads and
a part of the
structures are at
ground.
binder grade right now. So once we got processed gravel in for the road, then binder goes in. Then that's when they would be functional.
They wouldn't be able to turn those on until everything's working.
Although they aren't
in the
using
basins.
one, they aren't using basin one
They're not using any.
for construction
No,
or that,
Well,
so they
created-
could.
these
They
two-
created a different, yeah.
These two would be functional once binder was down because they're established and ready to go. This one, they were gonna start loaming and seeding the berm and up at top of it today. They put the structure back together. They have to put this pipe in, and they just, they have not been able to get out here
Right.
to do this with the amount of rain we've had in the last 60 days. I mean, the forecast is starting to look better for it, but
But you expect you're at least a few weeks away from binder,
yes,
easily.
Right.
yes.
So
We're-
that
we're-
gets
we're-
back to trying to get that whole site stabilized where the
Right.
pink is.
I think that's- think
I can,
that's
I can loam and seed this as well. I can loam and seed this area right here. I can
Okay.
loam lots
So you're
9, 8,
for
and 7.
Thursday or Wednesday. So you're gonna have everything for Wednesday.
That's the plan.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
So you're okay with the enforcement order as it stands? You just need to vote to ratify the enforcement order. I was the only one who signed it.
So that it would still remain in effect?
Yes.
Yep.
Unless you want to lift it.
Can I have a motion to
No.
ratify the
Just check.
enforcement order?
Okay.
Somebody?
I'll have a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. So what are we looking for reporting? So there's been, when sites are in breach or in failure, you look for like a lot of reporting. So every time that they're out, we know what's going on, so this is certainly not a weekly.
Time it rains.
Yeah, this is not a weekly kind of report right now, based on what's going on.
Either weekly or if every
It's
time,
not-
we-
it's
every
not
time we get a
weekly.
half inch of rain.
Right, I think going forward, that the next few days,
Yeah.
where what you do tomorrow should be on a note of what you've done tomorrow.
Well,
What's being
I
done.
can-
And that's a standard, once a week or before or after a half-inch rain.
Yeah.
So if we get Amy a revised program this week,
Mhm.
I alluded to the question earlier, and I'm not sure if we landed on it or not. Is Amy then able to act on that, approving that, for us to proceed on site? Or does that require a vote of the entire
I think it
board?
would require a site walk where a few of the commissioners went with the agent to be able to go through that on site.
Do you guys, I mean, could we schedule one for Monday?
I mean, I feel as though we're not gonna put that magnitude onto the agent with, you'd want at least one or two,
Well, let me get it to her first, and then we'll schedule it with Amy.
fine.
It seems like
You
the
might be
main
better off
thing here is to
scheduling
stop
something on Monday
the erosion
while everyone's sitting here.
of the wetlands, not so much worry about cleaning it up right now. To
But we
stop.
definitely wanna start to
Oh,
clean
we're
it
gonna
up
definitely
because
start cleaning up.
I would like to clean it up. I mean,
Right, it's
I
gonna
would have
run,
liked
it's
to clean
gonna
it up
run
today, but.
further. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
think
you
what you're
can't
hearing is that
control.
we want you to start to clean it up
Okay.
and come up with other means, the
I-
conveyor, things
Conveyor.
like that. Yeah. Right.
A crane with
Yep, just.
Baxter bags.
Get your engineer's opinion as far as
Yeah, and
stabilization.
location.
I
make
like
sure you're
both
not
of our
gonna make it
ideas so
worse.
far.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Are they-
Okay, we gotta keep going. Okay.
Okay.
So did you want to try set something up for Monday? While you're all
You
actually
want
sitting
one-
in the same room?
Could we try Friday?
Friday's gonna rain.
It's gonna
Oh, it is.
Bring a gun.
So can I have one of those
Set up
sets?
a Monday thing?
Yeah, you can set it.
It's supposed to be a good day, so you might stay dry.
Yeah?
Oh,
Carly,
I'm
you
sorry,
around Monday?
you had in a butter here too.
Depends when it is. Late in the matter.
Better.
Small one's fine
Can I
actually,
just-
because it's going to change.
I didn't meet up
Small one's fine
until
until
5.
change.
I mean, I met them at 5 today, so they're around.
I mean, wouldn't it be- what if I get this to Amy, discuss it with Amy, make a scheduled appointment with Amy, and then see who's available to come at the time?
Stop
when-
using my
when
name.
that- When that happens.
Dude, making me really nervous.
So, Amy, it'll probably be the latter part of the day or early evening, based on commissioner schedules, so.
Okay.
Do we have comments? You said we have an
You
abutter
have
here.
in a
Do we
butter,
have some
did you
comments?
have anything to add?
Well, I'm Cammie Bean, I live on the end of Oak Road, and I see the stream that goes by, and it's been cloudy, white, like milk. I took a bunch of pictures and shared them with Amy. It started, May 26th was the first time I saw it. I've documented it a few times. Last week, Tuesday, it was like milk. Yeah, it's been cleared up, and then today, this morning it was fine, this afternoon it was milky again. So there's definitely still stuff going on.
Is this Neshoba Brook?
Yeah, so the end of Oak Road, so it's all, whatever the runoff is, it's coming into the stream.
That's not from us.
We're not, I don't think that we're.
Amy walked down that
gradient
with
re-
us
I don't think
one
we're a
day,
gradient source to that.
right after it, and it was clean, and it wasn't coming from our site.
It was clean on Oak that day, so I'm not, there could be very fine stuff that is mobilized in a rain that you're just not gonna see otherwise.
Yeah, it's
You know,
not
but
every
it's-
day.
it's not-
It's not every day. so-
There is stuff going on, not on Oak.
There is on Oak, there's a house that was raised
Well,
on Oak.
yeah, okay, there's stuff going on.
There's an addition going on in Oak.
Narcissus is eroding. There's somebody's back there with equipment doing, I'm not sure, what-
if
there
you
are
can just
other
keep on
potential
your radar.
inputs on that
I
side.
will. I've walked that daily,
So-
and
So what we're asking the applicant, if we think that on their radar.
Dan, his
and they-
engineer, was out taking pictures as well, and it wasn't
we have to-
migrating from
We
our
have to go
site.
back to the point source where it is.
Yeah, okay.
So that's,
So I'm just
not that
raising
you
the
have to
flag.
do this,
It's
but we've
definitely within the
asked the applicant to make sure that they are coming from their property to make sure they're kind of coming back to make sure it is not their point.
It'd be good to find out where that is coming from.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not their
Well,
obligation to do
You
so.
can walk right up the stream and see the activity on those roads.
It's
So wait,
not
do we-
coming from Oak Road, it's definitely coming from farther upstream.
Right, so if you guys can track it to just verify that it is not on your property. Okay. All right, so we have given you an hour,
Wait, do we want to schedule for the Monday?
and they're gonna get continued to August 7th as well for updates. Carl, what time, is there a time on Monday that works for you?
That's the 31st.
5:30,
5:30?
that's the earliest I can make it.
Do you want to do like a 6 o'clock?
Yeah, that
No.
Meeting at
Too
the
late?
house?
Oh, There's a picture that was right up.
Okay, so we're gonna keep going, guys.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock?
Oh, Carl said no to
Into
6.
that
So 5:30?
Oh, 5:30.
That's what he
5:30 's
said
fine.
I
originally.
might be able to do that too.
So it'll be confirmed, but the commissioners are putting forth a proposed time of 5:30. Okay? Thank you.
I'll be in touch with you on this.
Okay.
And did you sign in?
Yeah, just be good, just to.
Yeah, I walk it every day. I walk it, I do.
We're talking about Newtown Road next?
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
That's one before you.
Can we skip ahead?
Well, actually, Chestnut is not here, that was my
Yeah.
mistake.
I just want to do an update that I went out to Chestnut today, and I'm going to ask the agent to go out places a little scary, submitted to reference. I really want to make sure that all those blocks, as you drive in on the left, none of them stay there. But all that, it's
The
Chestnut.
Chestnut's
quite a wash.
Don't drive down there.
You can go to the cul-de-sac and kind of look across and see
Yeah,
pretty
it's pretty bad.
much. Okay.
Okay, our 910, which is Newtown Road, 628. You're on.
Okey dokey.
What is it, where is this?
The disaster.
Is it,
Fred's old site.
is this the island?
It is.
The island, yes, it is the island.
Okay, well, I'll tell them I know where it is. It's-
So we were involved in this project for the initial wetland delineation. Fred Field did the heavy lifting on the permitting end of it. We did some support work, but not a whole lot. Then we were involved in the environmental monitoring piece of it when the crossing was installed
Yeah.
and the replication area was constructed, which seems to have gone fairly well, and continue to monitor that. The property's under new ownership from Fred Field. Bob Pace 1000 LLC is the name of the company that owns and operates, and the site's under construction. Was there an enforcement order, Amy? There was, right? No? Well, Amy.
That's what we're going to decide tonight.
Well, I guess so, right, but Amy identified, so we haven't been doing any monitoring beyond, because the monitoring was only for the replication area. And so our activity stopped at that point. And then we got a phone call a week ago when there was identified some issues.
Yeah, and actually, when I realized that they were coming up for Cooper anyway, I said, gee, you might want to stop off at Newtown.
Yeah.
Because I knew they weren't involved, but.
And there was some debris some material stocked on top of the hay bales and had gone over the hay bales, some boulders, a porta potty, and so they basically weren't keeping a tidy site. There doesn't seem to be any direct wetland impacts that has resulted. It's not like what we have going on here on Great Road, because there isn't washout areas and big watersheds and that kind of thing. It's more, I think, sloppy site operations that are going on over there.
But the erosion control's very tight to the work, so they didn't leave themselves any space to put all those things.
For stockpiling.
For stockpiling. The boulders.
So that's what's going on over there, and we basically told them you got to get all that stuff out of there, more or less. So they've started pulling some of that stuff out. I didn't go there today to check and see how far.
Yeah, Julie and I stopped by. I'd say maybe 80-90% of the stuff they've cleaned up. It was a huge pile. The hay bales were retaining walls, basically. Only a little bit had gotten past that we noticed today. Large boulders have been, put into the buffer zone on the outside, which they've pulled most of those out.
Where'd they put them, Well,
there's a little stockpile. I think they took a bunch of stuff off-site. I think they took a lot of material off-site. I assume.
They said some of the stones were going to be used for delineating the snow storage?
The snow storage area. Yeah, so the plans show boulders around the snow storage area and parts around the house. And I would imagine you guys would probably be fine with having boulders put, because that's a conservation restriction in there too. So the only thing I asked, whenever I was out there, I'm tired, was that they also stake where the snow storage area is and where those lines of boulders are supposed to be. So we all know what's going on out there. So I think they've made big progress. They have a little bit more to do. There's some hay bales and stuff that still need fixing. But it's...
Well, I don't think it would hurt to send the owner a note. And just
I've talked to him, and I met him on the site. He's been out there.
All right, because part of what we had when we had let them start there, we told them it was a very sensitive site. I mean, I know how many times I reiterated that, and that the way you develop it, you have to be very careful. Obviously, they haven't been.
Yeah, well, and then the contractor was starting to say, well, how am I expected to build on this site because it's so tight? It's like, I don't care.
Yeah. You bought it.
Yeah, literally, you bought it. So I think mostly they've done what they need to do. They have a little further to go. The stream has, as far as I've seen, always been running clear, so, no erosion's gotten into the wetlands or anything like that. May need discussed as they get a little further if the buffer zone and the conservation restriction might need a little restoration or something from where those boulders have been placed. But it's a very thin understory. No more trees have been cut or anything like that, so. I don't know, did you have any reaction to the site? I mean, they're just squeezing that foundation in there, but
It's very tight.
Yeah.
It's definitely very tight. There, I just noted the hay bales near the crossing where a couple of them looked like they were about to topple in. So could use some stabilization.
Are you in charge of back and?
Yes, well, we've been asked to make sure they get back on the straight and narrow on this issue. So we will monitor to make sure they complete the efforts, send a report with photos to Amy, and if necessary, do a site walk to Amy's satisfaction and or the commission's satisfaction.
And We also discussed the little bit of stockpiling in the well area. That wasn't necessarily part of the original plan. Is that accurate, Amy?
Yeah, I mean, when they put in the well, I remember they came in for the change to save that tree, which ended up they couldn't save. And in order to get the well truck in there, they had to get a little wider, and I was fine with that. But now, of course, now that it's wider, they're stockpiling in there. So I think that also is another area that needs to be restaked where they should have been, pull it all back in. Hopefully, if the weather's okay, they can get the foundation finished, and then they can just pile everything back in.
The well being on the far side of the foundation? Is that the?
The septic system is behind the foundation, the well, as you're looking in the well.
Up towards the Route 2
Right,
side.
right.
It's on the right.
Right, okay. Where did they put the porta potty?
Right out front.
Or is it right out front?
I didn't
Oh.
see it after
Be
they
able to
moved it,
service
so.
it.
Yeah,
They
it's right out
pulled it
front.
in, they pulled it inside, yeah.
Okay. How could, okay.
Well,
In
thank
front
you
of
for
the,
monitoring it.
in front of the
Emergency.
bridge? Like in
So,
front of the bridge?
can we just mention one other thing about Cooper, or is we beyond that?
No, we're already gone, so that's,
Okay.
so are we done with this, so we can close? Does he need any other guidance?
No.
It's not an enforcement? Got-
Do we
No,
need
let's
to
keep it-
authorize?
Let's not make an enforcement
Right,
if we
so
don't
we can
have
just
to.
keep going with it.
Yeah.
Cleaned up, keep moving.
If they ignore you and it's not fixed by the time you next meet again, then you can do your enforcement order. How's that sound?
As long as
Sounds
you
like a
get
plan.
them going.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Good night.
Thanks,
Is there any more, Amy, do you have any more business?
The only other one was Kaliva. They want to cut down some trees out there, which generally I'm kind of okay with, but because it's one owner, but all these little cottages.
Sorry,
I
what's
started saying-
Kaliva? I'm sorry, I didn't
Oh,
know.
so no, that's gotta be,
Is it
it's
this-
still individual ownership.
So where they want to cut the trees down by
So-
the pond?
So, yeah, so there, I think just coincidentally, two people called me and said, well, one's okay, but, so one is a fallen limb in the lake. I said, you can take that out anytime. Then there's a tree that's like this, that the fallen limb came off of. They want to take down one of the trunks of that. I said, wait on that. And then someone has a spruce that was damaged in a fire that's right on the corner of their cottage that they want to take down, which I agree is probably a safety issue, but
That looks like a health issue.
Yeah.
It's right next to them, that's for sure.
So it's basically 4 trees?
it's basically 2 trees.
2 trees. Yeah. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So I was gonna kind of deal with it more as an administrative thing, but since Fort Pond was here,
Yep.
and
No, I think that's good. That's, I mean, that's,
Do we
one of
make-
those looks
do we
like
have to make a determination of negative?
Anything else?
We have to move to the close.
Second.
So, 9:52. Meeting, hearing adjourned.
Adjourned.
It's like an hour early.
Drive to Maine.